It's all magic, no tricks. Coming with it.
All right, guys, let's get right into it. Yo, this is S.E.T. with them. Whoop. All right, had the repeat on that one. My bad. But yo, this is S.E.T with S.E.T Media, and I'm back with another one for you guys. All right, guys, we're about to get into Trump taking questions after a cabinet meeting. We're going to go ahead and skip straight to the questions instead of the drawn out cabinet meeting. And then we're going to go ahead and get to, Press Secretary Leavitt came out, did a press conference. And then we also got J.D. Vance taking the interview after he came back from Israel. So let's get right into it, guys. Let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video.
Mr. President.
How about pertaining to this for a little while? And whoa. Would you have any questions of these incredible people?
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Good to see you. If I could just ask both of you, including Secretary Hegseth, there's reporting the U.S. just sent B-1 bombers near Venezuela to ramp up some military pressure there. Is that accurate? And can you tell us more about that mission?
No, it's not accurate. No, it's false. But we're not happy with Venezuela for a lot of reasons, drugs being one of them, but also they've been sending their prisoners into our country for years under the Biden administration. Not anymore. We have a closed border. We had actually nobody for the last 4 months, I guess 5 months. They report nothing. They report zero. I don't know if that can be possible, but we'll accept it, right, fellas? But we have closed borders. We have people coming into our country, but they only come in legally. We have the strongest borders we've ever had. We might have the strongest borders of almost any nation right now. And that's a big difference from what it was 2 years ago when everybody was pouring in. But we're very unhappy with Venezuela because of what they've done. They've emptied their prisons into our country. Nobody can do that. Only a stupid person would have.
I mean, not only do they work with their criminals inside of prisons, but they work with criminals outside of prisons, aka the cartel. And then, of course, the fact that, Maduro actually lost his election and he's refusing to give up power. So he's an illegitimate leader, or as you say, illegitimate president. So, yeah, there's a lot of things going on in Venezuela. Should we be using military force to, get Maduro out of there? I don't think so. But, I mean, we can hold them accountable for the cartel. But as soon as we try to get in there and hold them accountable for, having a rigged election or pushing for regime change, then Trump will have to address Congress for that.
Did it, and that's what we had running our country. Very stupid people. So we're not happy with Venezuela, I will tell you. Yeah.
Mr. President. Thank you, President Trump.
Yeah, you okay?
Yes. On fentanyl.
We're going to lose
Sorry
it.
about that. On fentanyl,
we have
President
some
Trump.
good medical help right over. That's all right.
On fentanyl, according to CDC data, Nearly 330,000 Americans died over the past 5 years from fentanyl. That's 1 in every 1,000 Americans who died.
It's more than that, but that's all right.
Yes, I
It's
know
more.
you think it's even more
I'll
than.
be discussing that with President
Yes,
Xi.
so that's actually my question.
I figured it
I
was.
was wondering, since it mostly comes from China and has caused such carnage in the U.S.,
Yeah.
what are you going to say to convey the seriousness? And also a second question for you or Secretary Hegseth. Is there any
Yeah, the crazy thing about fentanyl is that you got to attack both sources. The main source is the Chinese triad. I mean, they're the one who's actually, well, convincing China, the Chinese government. I mean, surprise, surprise. The Chinese triad works with the CCP. Yes, the Chinese criminal gang works with their government. It is what it is. But they're the ones who's pretty much administrating the fentanyl over there to the cartels that they sell into here to sabotage the USA. And I mean, it's kind of working.
evidence that China is now smuggling fentanyl through Venezuela to bypass U.S. and Mexican port controls?
They are doing that, yes. But they are paying right now a 20% tariff because of fentanyl. That's billions and billions of dollars that they're paying. We're actually, on November 1st, the tariff on China goes to 157%, which is record-setting territory. And we don't want that because it's not sustainable for them. They can't sustain that. We don't want them to have to go through that. So I'm meeting with President Xi, and I would say we have some big issues, like with the farmers and various other things. But the first question I'm going to be asking him about is fentanyl. And if you think about it, they make $100 million. Think of this. They make $100 million selling fentanyl into our country, $100 million. They lose $100 billion with the 20% tariff. So it's not a good business proposition. It's $100 billion approximately that they have to pay. That's a big penalty to make $100 million. So I think they want to do something. They want to put it on the list. It's on the list. It's one of the things we're talking about, and I'm putting it right at the front of the list. So they pay a very big penalty for doing that, and I don't think they want to be doing it. And we'll see what happens at the end of next week, because I'll be meeting next week, as you know, along with we're stopping in Malaysia, we're stopping in South Korea, we're stopping in Japan. I'm meeting with President Xi, actually.
I mean, he's pretty much trying to gather up all the Asian countries against China to pretty much go against them. Because let's be real, what China try to do with their rare earth minerals or the rare earth mineral refining technology is they try to hold the rest of the world hostage with it, pretty much telling them what they can do and how much they can sell. And that was the problem. I mean, that's the reason why Trump got these letters from these countries stating that, yes, China's asking us to limit our rare earth minerals exports to you to pretty much, help destroy your economy. So, hey, pretty much what Trump did was hit him with the 100% tariff. If they don't, stop the BS by November 1st, or we are going to see about 130% tariffs on Chinese imports. And that's just going to be the average.
In South Korea. So it'll be the first thing on the list. Yeah, please.
Yes, Mr. President, on the drug boats, sir, has there been any discussion about capturing one so that you can show the amount of narcotics?
We know everything about them. Yeah, Jennifer. We know everything about them. We know where they're coming from, who they're coming with, generally who's in the boat. I'll let Pete discuss it a little bit, but they have incredible intelligence. And, usually when you see 5 engines, I've never even seen that before, but when you see 5 engines on a boat going about 65 miles an hour, loaded up with white powder in silver cases, generally speaking, that's not a good sign. They're not going fishing, right? And you don't see any fishing rods, right? So, Pete, I'll let you discuss that a little bit, please.
Well, yes, sir. Likewise, generally you don't see fishing in submarines either, sir.
Yeah.
So the
submarine. I mean, first off, the cartel got submarines? Like, what? I'm sorry, but that caught me. Sorry for the sound there, but that caught me by surprise. I'm like, they got submarines? That is amazing. I mean, the fact that they're transporting drugs in submarines now, speedboats, man, these guys got yachts, fast car, golden guns, and now submarines. This can't be real sometimes. Hey, yo, the cartel never cease to amaze how much wealth they can gather to buy a submarine. And who the hell sold the cartel a submarine?
U.S. military, as I mentioned, nobody better in the world at mapping networks, identifying who's connected to who, inside terrorist organizations. It's just the media is used to hearing that when it pertains to Afghanistan and Iraq and ISIS and Al-Qaeda. But if you reframe how you understand the world in our own hemisphere, that's exactly what these foreign terrorist organizations are. And so we will track them, we will map them, we will network them, and we will hunt them and kill them because they're trying to and they are killing and poisoning the American people. And inside that, we have all the license necessary, all the authorities necessary to take these kinetic strikes, and we'll continue to take them.
And we've been, just to add, because
And to be quite honest, they have not released really no intel on this. They have not released no intel confirming that, to the people that these strikes were, well, on narco terrorists. All we got is the trust me bro of the president. And the reason why I feel like we have the trust me bro of the president, which a lot of people do not appreciate, and I understand, but the reason why we got it is because we're most likely getting the information from the CIA. That's the only people that can feed us information, and on a need to know basis, we don't got to share with the public because, well, it's the CIA. I mean, anybody else, sure, but the CIA, nah. They can always do things in secrecy. And like I said, they've already been reported to be operating in Venezuela. So how else will we know? How else will we know?
I think it's important. We've been capturing them for years. It's not like, gee, let's capture one. We've been doing that for years. For 25 years, we've been doing it.
That's kind of
not at a level like we're doing it now. I mean, just with the hits we're hitting, but we have much more intensity than any administration's ever had. But we've been capturing these boats for years, and they get back.
Of course, we know it, bro. I know the cartel not rolling around with a full-blown military submarine. I'm thinking more of like one of them little like submersibles and all that good stuff. And the thing is, it's impressive still. It's like y'all have elevated to that now. I mean, Well, I mean, when they start using submersibles, I would say this: the one thing that is like difficult about the submersibles, that if they were trying to transport drugs and humans at the same time, because they are human smugglers as well, then I mean, there's really no way to know if we basically kill innocent people. And that's the tough part about this, because you got to understand how the cartel moves. Like, yes, they move everything from people, drugs, and the weapons
back into the system, and they do it again and again and again, and they don't fear that. They have no fear. The thing I can tell you right now, it's very hard to find any floating vessel right now on the Pacific or in the Gulf, and I would like to call it by its official name, the Gulf of America. Another little triumph of the Trump administration.
I mean, we treating it like it's our Gulf, I'll tell you that.
I said for years, I said, why do we call it the Gulf of Mexico? It's 93%. The shoreline is 93%. All right, so I never understood that. So I made that change. I never realized how easy that was going to be, other than, I guess, AP fought us in court, and the judge said, but that's the name. And actually, they were sort of semi-prohibited from even covering us after that. It was pretty amazing. But we have the Gulf of America, and there are very few boats, very, very few boats, not even fishing boats, to be honest. I don't want to do that to the fishing industry, but it's been so effective. And our sea drugs, as they call them, they use the term sea drugs, the drugs coming in by sea, are like 5% of what they were a year ago, less than 5%. So now they're coming in by land, and even the land is concerned, because I told them that's going to be next. The land is going to be next. Yeah. And we may go to the Senate, we may go to the, Congress, and
yep. Okay, good.
Tell them about it.
Good. That's what you got to do, because I mean, attacking them on the ocean, especially when you claimed it, well, on the sea, or especially when you claimed it the Gulf of America, that's cool. I mean, we're allowed to do that, especially when they're designated a terrorist organization. But as soon as you try to strike this terrorist organization in any country in Latin America, you do have to address Congress.
But I can't imagine they'd have any problem with it. I think, in fact, while we're here, I think it's a good idea, Pete. You go to Congress, you tell them about it. What are they going to do? Say, gee, we don't want to stop drugs pouring in. They're killing 300,000 people a year. I think that's the real number, 300,000 people a year. So between that and my discussion with President Xi, I think we have never made progress like we've made. The sea drugs are almost dead, and they can't come in that fast from the land. And the land drugs are much more dangerous for them. It's going to be much more dangerous. You'll be seeing that soon. So that's the way it is. Yeah. Go ahead, please. Yeah, go ahead, please. with the glasses. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Good.
I wanted to ask, what's your reaction to Representative Dan Goldman calling on NYPD to arrest ICE agents who he says are acting illegally? He says they are illegally assaulting people and illegally detaining people at immigration courts in New York.
Well, you know, I know Dan, and Dan's a loser. You understand. He's a guy that doesn't have what it takes. He's been trying so hard.
Damn.
And they're exhausted. I mean, it's so ridiculous, right? A suggestion like that. So,
oh, guys, let's make sure you double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys.
so you know, they're just trying so hard, and it's not working. They've even now started imitating me, of all people. They want to imitate me. And they start using foul language, but they use too much of it. You know, you can't use the F word 7 times in one sentence. It doesn't work. It might work once every 7 news conferences, but you can't do it. You can't do it 7 times in one sentence. So I don't know. They're really they're in big trouble. That party. Go ahead.
Mr. President. Some alleged smugglers have survived some of these recent strikes and been sent back to their home country. If they're terrorists, why not just arrest and detain them?
Go ahead.
2 points on that. First, when I served in Iraq in 2005 and 2006, we used to, in sort of a gallows humor way, talk about the Iraqi catch and release program, the reality that we would catch a lot of people, hand them over, and then they would be recycled back through, and we'd have to recapture them or attack them again. And that's why changing the dynamic and actually taking kinetic strikes on these boats ought change the psychology of these foreign terrorist organizations. To those 2 that survived the shot on the semi-submersible, think again, compared to Iraq and Afghanistan, the vast majority of people that we captured on the battlefield, we handed over to the home country. Did we always like how it shaped out? Sometimes we did, sometimes we did not. But 99% would go to the Afghan.
Yeah, so they handed them back to the home country to prosecute them. So, yes. They handed it back them over to the home country. I think one of them was Ecuador to have them prosecuted. Will Ecuador or their home country prosecute them? I mean, to be quite honest with you, most likely not. I don't see it happening. Not at all.
Authorities or the Iraqi authorities.
I mean, what you mean? They love the cartel.
So in this case, those 2, they were treated by American medics and handed immediately over to their country.
Oh, yo, and shout out for Chase for starting us off. He said 98 to open the lines and run conspiracy hour. Oh yes, and shout out, yes, we can get $98 in super chat in. We can go ahead and open up the call-in lines and run a conspiracy hour. Man, let's have a fun one tonight, guys.
Countries where they came from, hopefully to face prosecution, which is a very standard way of handling something like this. We've got protocol of how we'll handle it.
Not that guy. He's so hopeless. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yesterday, there was a vote at the Knesset on annexing the West Bank. Do you see it as a challenge to your peace efforts?
Could you say that louder, please?
Something about the
Yes,
West Bank?
yesterday there was a vote at the Knesset in Israel on annexing the West Bank. Do you see it as a challenge to your peace efforts?
Will you answer that, please? Because I cannot understand the words you're saying. Where are you from? Where are you from? You're from France. Beautiful accent, but we can't understand what you're saying.
About the West Bank, I believe.
The West Bank is. Don't worry about the West Bank.
Yeah, don't worry
Israel's
about
not going to do anything with the West Bank. Okay.
Look, man, Trump, I hope you're right, bro. I'm praying that you're right. I hope you actually do something to stop that, man. But BB, look, man, he's telling the Knesset a different tune. He's singing a different tune in front of the Knesset. He's telling these guys it's wartime as soon as we get our hostages back, and it's kind of looking like that already. And has they stopped the annexing of the West Bank and stop the resettlements or stop the settlers? Nope. No, they have not. If they did, they would have arrested that old lady by now who runs the settlers, who was actually nominated for Nobel Peace Prize, believe it or not. Yes, a lady who was actually kicking Palestinians out of the West Bank, leads a whole organization to do so, got nominated for Nobel Peace Prize. I was like, wow. And you know, that's nothing on the organization of the Nobel Peace Prize. That just goes to show that, well, somebody thought she was doing the right thing.
Don't worry about it. Is that your question? They're not going to do anything with the West Bank. Don't worry about it. Israel's doing very well. They're not going to do anything with it. Yeah, please.
Mr. President. Thank you.
President Trump, are there any safeguards in place to protect Americans from fentanyl and cartels when you leave office in 2028? Any protocols that could be put in place in case a future administration comes in that wants open borders? And I also have a question for the Secretary of War as well after your answer.
Well, the
if that's
biggest
okay.
thing we can do is make sure they don't come in, because open borders, they would destroy. It's amazing that our country is even surviving with what we went through, coming in by the millions and coming in from the wrong places. You know, I know all these people that run these countries, and they're smart. They're very street smart, and they're not sending their best. You know, they're not sending. They're taking them out of their prisons. And
and shout out to my man Hellbat. He says, "Hey, S.E.T, I sent an amusing video to general chat if you're down for a good laugh. Also, I recently seen a clip saying Ireland popped off due to essay of a 10-year-old. Yeah, I did hear that Ireland is protesting right now on the essay of a 10-year-old. I mean, shoot, I'd ride over that too. Like, who wouldn't?
Mental institutions, as I say.
I wonder. An immigrant was probably involved. And I'm not saying that to be racist. I'm just saying most likely was involved because, you know, immigration problem going on in Ireland. It's been honestly, it's been stoking like racial tension. Like I'll be honest with you, the social cohesion was starting to dissolve, and the Irelands and the immigrants honestly start hating each other. And I mean, if that's what happened, hey, I called it.
Over and over again. They're the drug dealers, they're the drug addicts, they're people that don't work. I mean, the best of them are people that don't work. They don't work. They're on welfare. Their form of welfare, which is tiny. You know what their form of welfare? They give you a piece of paper. They give you nothing. But they want people that work. They don't let those people come out because they want those people. You know, they cherish those people. Those are the people that make their country run. They give us all of the people that don't work and are murderers. 11,843 murderers came in. 11,800. Many of them committed, more than 50% committed more than one murder. Now, why do we want them? Why would Biden and that group of thugs that he had working for him, why would they accept these people? Why would he accept? Nobody understands it. You know, they say maybe they wanted the vote, but I did great with the Hispanic vote, but these are people from all over the world. Why would they do it? So one question, no matter what I do, I can't. You always like to know the opponent. You have an opponent. What do they get?
No, Luna, no, don't say that. You're right. Said it was a migrant. No. Why? Why always got to be right about negative stuff? Oh, come on, bro. Why couldn't I be right about something positive? But somehow I knew it. I mean, I seen it coming. Hey, man, UK next.
And usually you can. Why would they allow 20 million, maybe 25 million people into this country, almost all of which, but most of which should not have been allowed into our country? It's one of the great enigmas. What they've done to this country should never be forgotten. In history, should never, ever be forgotten. And now it looks like we're going to have a communist mayor in New York. That'll be a lot of fun. But remember this, they have to go through the White House. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Founder of Binance.
Not too worried about that.
Can you explain why you chose to pardon him, and did it have anything to do with his involvement in your
Which one?
family's?
Who is that?
The founder of Binance. He has a involvement in your own family's crypto
one, yes,
business.
So yeah, the founder of Binance was pardoned today, and you know what? I need to look up this man's crimes because what did he even get arrested for? And let's be real, Binance. I mean, I think it's still running right now. I do believe it's basically like a coin. It's like what was it? What was it? Crypto. Bro, what's that app called that you buy crypto? Coinbase. Oh wow, I had a complete brain fart. But basically it's like another Coinbase, what Binance is. Maybe I'm simplifying it a bit much. I do believe they do a little bit more than that as well, but they are basically another Coinbase. And I'm not sure why this man got arrested, but for him to get pardoned, I mean, it does kind of go along with this whole conspiracy theory that Trump is trying to, run off, like pretty much leave the debt on the world while, kind of just easing into crypto. Now, I can't really tell you all the specifics of it, but I can tell you this. It looks more plausible now that he's going to let this man out of jail, and now they got the little mastermind to help them kind of, I guess, run off on the world while on, well, when it comes to debt, run off on the world when it comes to debt, and just walk off into the sunset with crypto. I mean, it could work, but it's very tricky.
I believe we're talking about the same person because I do partner a lot of people. I don't know. He was recommended by a lot of people. A lot of people say that. Are you talking about the crypto person? A lot of people say that he wasn't guilty of anything. He served 4 months in jail, and they say that he was not guilty of anything. That what he did. Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about. You know nothing about nothing. You're fake news.
Damn.
Let me just tell you that he was somebody that, as I was told, I don't know him. I don't believe I've ever met him. But I've been told by a lot of support. He had a lot of support. And they said that what he did is not even a crime. It wasn't a crime, that he was persecuted by the Biden administration. And so I gave him a pardon at the request of a lot of very good people. Yeah, please. Yeah, Daniel.
President, thank you so much.
This is the kind of question I like.
Yeah,
right here.
the
Trump crypto coin goes up by 10x.
The numbers from this task force are jaw-dropping. I wanted to know, this is a question for you and both Stephen, since it was said this is your brainchild. What are the lessons to be learned from the success of the task force, and what are your continued goals with this task force now that you have about 3 years left?
Well, the best thing we have going is we have such talent around this table. I could go over every one of these men and women, and we have unbelievable talent. They've got the naturals, you know, like somebody that hits a baseball or a golf ball or a, you know, that you see more, it's more evident. It's beautiful because it's sports. You can tell somebody right away, are they good or are they not? These people are the most talented people at what they do. And when we started talking about this, Stephen and all of us, it seems so easy. What is surprising to me is how quickly we can straighten out a large city, a big city, a mean city, a city that's sick, that got very sick with guns all over the place, with bullets shooting all over, where you take your life in your hands if you go out and buy a loaf of bread. That's not America. That's not our country. And those people don't care how you do it. They just want it done. They really do. You know, when you go to the people in the street, they don't know. Is it National Guard? They just want it done. They want to be safe. And we've gained a great following of Americans, real Americans, people that want to be safe. But I think the biggest thing we say is we have tremendous talent. We were able to recognize, like a football team, like a baseball team, we were able to recognize the talent. And the talent is largely in this room for the whole country. It's largely in this room. There's really nothing like it. And that's why I think we had D.C. done, not perfectly, but pretty much done, at least normalized in 12 days. Would you say 12 days? On the 12th day, it felt different. And you know, we took a lot of bad people out, never to come back again. Then most of them never to come back again. But there's great talent, and there's also great courage. I've been watching what goes on, and then you have the radical left lunatics, and what's that all about? I mean, they're fighting us because we want to stop crime. Where do these people come from? They're paid money. I guess they're paid a lot of money. But like I saw that ridiculous march the other day, I say, these people are not representative of our country. And not all of them, of course, but many of them are total lowlifes. These are lowlifes. These are people that are paid agitators. And
well, honestly, I mean, they're out there talking about a no kings rally, but like I said, it's all the complaining in the world with no solutions, no anything. It's just an I hate Trump rally. And let's be real. I know there's people who says, "Oh, it's not that Trump's not a king. He's acting like a king." How is he acting like a king, guys? Because you guys say he's going against the courts, but no, he has the right to challenge the courts all the way up to the Supreme Court, and whatever they say goes. But you guys don't want to listen to that. I mean, you say ICE, but ICE is just upholding the immigration law. And y'all don't like that for some reason. So he's only been doing what, honestly, a lot of presidents has been doing throughout history. And for some reason, we came to Donald J. Trump, and all of a sudden, he did what he done. He done things that Kennedy's done, Eisenhower, soon even Nixon. And he's a bad guy. Shoot, he's even cracked down on initiatives that Obama's even wanted to do. Actually, that Obama's implemented. I take that back. When Obama implemented his immigration policy, he deported 3 million illegals, undocumented. Where was y'all outraged then? You didn't think that ICE was kicking in doors then too? You didn't think they was running into the workplace then too? Like, how you think this stuff gets done? Like, come on now.
Not representative of our country. So I don't know. I can just tell you that our country has tremendous spirit right now. You know that better than anybody because you cover it well. But we have a lot of people that are very happy right now with the direction. They did a poll the other day. The direction of our country is better than it's been in 37 years. And I'm upset because I think it should be better than that. I actually said we should be better than that. So, thank you very much for your question. Brian? Brian?
Mr. President, yes. Thank you, Mr. President. You guys have done an amazing job in Memphis. Some of those numbers are staggering, and we've gotten message on social media wanting to thank you for that. But I think, can you talk about the number of missing children you guys have discovered in Memphis? That's amazing.
Well, it's hundreds of thousands were lost through Biden and the Biden administration, and we are getting a lot of them back, but they're either dead, they're slaves, they're captured in some form. But think of it, hundreds of thousands we're talking about, not even believable. And they came in through the border, they were sold, they were bargained for, and this was all Biden, meaning Biden and Obama, the same mentality, frankly. I think it's the same mentality. Let me tell you, Barack Hussein Obama was a lousy president. A lot of bad things happened. Remember when they used to talk about Trump with the jail cells? Well, he built the jail.
Now, I'll say this. This was strange. How did the VP of the deporter-in-chief turn into the president who let in about 10 million illegals? That is absolutely insane.
Jail cells for the children. He built those jail cells. Remember that came out?
Yes, he did.
But, sir, they were built in 2014. You remember when that came out? After me going through that stuff for about...
When they was crying about kids in cages, and when Obama had kids in cages, y'all was hush-hush about that.
2 weeks,
and
then they found out
blankets.
It was Barack Obama that built those jail cells. No, these people they were bad leaders. I hope we don't have it again. I hope we don't have it again because, our country's come back a long way, but it can only withstand so much, and we don't want to ever go through that again. We never want to have open borders again. We don't want to have men playing in women's sports. We don't want to have transgender for everybody. We don't want that. We want to have a great country with low interest rates, nice housing, great education, a strong military, the basics. Yes, please.
In last night's New York City mayoral debate, Zohran Mamdani said he would close Rikers Island if elected. What kind of impact would that have on public safety?
Well, it's not good. I guess it's not a very nice place, but you need it. You need something. You have a lot of additional people in New York City that should not have been here. They came here through the open border, through Biden's. I don't know how they even do it. New York City's always been tight for money, and then they spend, $8 billion, and nobody complains about it on people that just showed up and they just came out of nowhere. Where did they get the money? All of a sudden, they have money. I tell you what. We have to keep our prisons very fair and very safe, but you get a lot of criminals. We have a lot of additional criminals. I used to talk about it. They used to say, well, only good people come in from foreign countries. I said, that's not right. I didn't know that for a fact, but it had just started, right? The open borders and people flying.
I would say majority good people. Like, look, I'm not going to sit here and villainize these illegals and sit here and say they're all violent criminals. No, most of them are not violent criminals. They actually came here for economic opportunity that they can't get in their own country. Because, in their country, they get paid about $4 an hour. In our country, they get paid about, $5 to $7 an hour. It's a difference. But, yeah. But here's the problem. They still broke the law by coming over here undocumented. So they got to go. Even if they came over here and didn't commit no violent crimes. Too bad. You got to go. You're messing up American wages. How are we going to raise the minimum wage when we got illegals in the country willing to work like $5 below the minimum wage? Why would they want to raise minimum wage when we got illegals in here willing to work $5 below it? Like, y'all ain't making no sense. Like y'all literally going against what y'all want by allowing all these illegals in.
Going in by the millions. They make our criminals look like the nicest people on earth. That's the only good thing. They make our criminals look like nice people. They are the meanest, the most vicious. Tren de Aragua, you don't get any sicker. They cut people's fingers off because they called the cop. Did you call the cop? Yes. They cut off his finger so he can't call the cop anymore. And then they said, next time we're going to cut off your hand if you cut, because they took over his apartment in Colorado. You know, Colorado, they took over a town, then they took over another town, and you have a weak governor over there. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing, so he lets it go on. But we're getting them out of here. We're getting them all out. They're going back to lots of, not just Venezuela, they're going back to lots of countries. Venezuela would be one, however. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
A moment ago, you said that if Secretary Hegseth went to Congress and briefed them on the operations
No, we
against
will
these,
go, I said.
You will go. And
We
it would
will
be
go. We're
difficult
gonna
for them to
go.
object.
I don't see any Lawson going. No reason not to. You know, they'll always complain, oh, we should have gone. So we're going to definitely, I'd like to just tell you, let's go. We go.
You have no choice.
What we're going to do, and I think they're going to.
Well, I'm be real. I'd say Trump. Let's be real. You have no choice. As soon as you said you're going to start striking on land, aka in some Latin American country, you need to ask Congress for approval. Like you got to talk to them.
Probably like it, except for the radical left lunatics.
And Mr. President, if you are declaring war against these cartels and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay. Yeah. Yes, red hair.
Thank you.
Beautiful red hair.
Thank you. I'll tell my hairdresser that. She'll love it. This is a question for both you and the Secretary of War, Mr. Hegseth.
Who are you with?
I'm with the Center Square. We're a newswire service. With everything that's going on between the narco terrorists in the Caribbean, and then also with more Chinese, Iranian, Russian ships also taking part in Venezuela. Are you have any plans of expanding operations out of Roosevelt Roads and in fact placing some home porting some ships there?
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
We're familiar with the location that you're referring to, and we'll make sure that we're properly displaced in order to deal with the contingency we're dealing with there, and also any ways in which other countries would attempt to be involved also. So we can walk and chew gum. We're definitely keeping our eyes on near-peer adversaries at the same time, but we think sending a message on these cartels, these narco-terrorists, is an important inside our hemisphere, which for far too long, other presidents, as the president pointed out, they've ignored our own backyard and allowed other countries to increase their influence here, which only threatens the American people. We're changing that.
One big thing that has happened, though, because you mentioned expansion and expand our efforts. So when I was running for office, second term, everybody was talking about the fact that nobody wanted to join the military, nobody wanted to join the great police force. You know, they didn't want to join New York's finest or any of our police forces. They didn't want to join anything having to do almost like with the country.
Speaking of New York, you remember the governor when she made this slightly racist statement? I mean, good times, good times.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want
young black kids growing up in the Bronx don't even know what a computer is. In the Bronx? Look. I've been to the Bronx before. It ain't that bad. You're acting like the Bronx is a third world country is crazy. Man, playing it like it's sub-Saharan Africa or something. Like what? But hey, though, the racism of the Dems never cease to amaze.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges.
Ah, man, that was hilarious. Good times, good times.
The uniform. We are setting records with the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Space Force, Coast Guard. We're setting records. We've never had anything like it. And I'll tell you when it started, November 5th. We didn't even have to wait till January 20th. They saw spirit. And now we have people coming in that are, it's unbelievable. And if we wanted to increase our military force, if we wanted to increase any one of these, including police forces, they can now get men. People didn't want to be policemen and women. They didn't want to be firemen and women. They didn't want to go into the military. We were having tremendous recruiting problems, and now we're setting records. We literally, last year at this time, you were doing stories that the recruitment was a disaster. We couldn't get men and women to go into the military. Now we have such an overabundance. We've never had, I mean, it's, as I understand it, it's like record-setting recruitment. This is in less than a year. It's been amazing. So this is a good time to expand if we want to do it. And I think we should. I think we should. And we probably will. Yeah, please. Yeah. Blue.
A couple questions for you. First for you and Secretary Hegseth. Is the administration supportive of sending National Guardsmen to cities for the express purpose of aiding deportation and immigration enforcement efforts?
To expand deportation efforts?
Sending National Guardsmen to U.S. cities for the express purpose of aiding deportation and immigration enforcement
What
efforts.
we've done so far is stand alongside federal law enforcement in every way, facilities and personnel, but also we have a great deal of lift inside the military. We're able to move assets in a way that no other aspect of the U.S. government can. And so where we can rapidly assist with mass deportations, we have been happy to do that.
One more question, if I may. Is the administration at all supportive of potential measures to crack down or regulate or even ban apps that track ICE agents' locations?
I mean, that should have been
What do
done.
you mean by that?
Like specific apps that are used to track the location of ICE agents?
I guess we'll do that. I'm not a big app guy. I'm not into that too much. I think Pam might be it. Let's go.
Yes.
Good answer there.
Yes. These organizations, President Trump, are coming in and their apps to track our federal law enforcement officers, and it jeopardizes their lives, where they're going to be, their location. And we've actually been working really well with the tech companies who have been cooperating because they don't want our law enforcement officers to.
Yeah, no, Apple just started taking these ICE tracker apps down, which is absolutely wild how they got that off. I'm honestly slightly impressed.
So yes.
Well, I mean, I see it with ICE, where they're having, you know, where they define where they live, who they are. And, you know, I didn't have a big view on the mask, but I now understand why they should wear masks. I think it's very dangerous for them not to wear masks. They can do whatever.
I mean, they wear masks because I mean, be honest with you guys, the way the Dems have portrayed ICE, you guys have gotten a little bit too radicalized towards them. I mean, if you see their face, you're going to try to harass them. You're going to try to post their face all over social media, try to get them. I mean, honest with you, you're also going to try to harass their family members as well. So I'm be real with you guys, Dems. You know there are radical guys out there. You guys know the radical among you want to do harm to these guys. They want to sit there and try to ruin their lives and, you know, harass their family members. Are you okay with that? Of course you're not. So you should be okay with ICE wearing masks.
They want. I notice some do it and some don't, but it's pretty dangerous. But when you look at, you know, you talk about that question, I think it's very dangerous, and I think you're coming down on that very hard, right? Yeah, please.
Sir, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. When you were running for re-election in 2024, you released a video statement where you made this exact promise to show no mercy on the cartels and employ every military asset necessary to combat them. In that same video, you also said that you plan to expose all the bribes and corruptions with politicians and the cartels.
We're doing that. Yeah, we're trying to do that.
Looking into that in American politicians.
Yeah, where the money's coming from. Because you see it. Like even that garbage deal they had this weekend, which was embarrassing to them, and the crowds were the crowds were not big. Those crowds were not big at all. But when you look at signs, and they're all made beautifully, the yellow signs, I saw the yellows, the blues, but they're all made professionally in a printing shop, looks like on Madison Avenue someplace. Some guy is paying for all that stuff. And
well, I guess the generic ones. There are actually some pretty creative signs. Like I said, people spend like 2 days of arts and craft just to protest Trump all day. It's like, it's adorable. Like, all right, it's cute. What can I say? Arts and craft all day just to yell a man's name that you hate.
I don't mind protest. Protest is a good thing. I protest. I'm always protesting, right? But when you see some of these people are going crazy. They're going crazy because they're getting paid. Because there's no reason for them to be going crazy. But you watch some of them, and they're professional agitators, and we are finding out who's paying them. Yeah, we have a lot of information about who they are. You're going to be very surprised when you find out.
I have a question for Secretary Hegseth. Sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
Thank you. President Putin basically said today that Russia is immune from U.S. sanctions. He said that it would not impact the Russian economy in any serious way. Is he
Good.
wrong?
I'm glad he feels that way. That's good. I'll let you know about it in 6 months from now. Okay. Let's see how it all works out. Yeah. Go ahead, please, Blue.
One about the shutdown. I'm Taylor Poplars with Spectrum News. The same day you established this task force back on January 20th was the same day you pardoned the January 6th defendants.
Yeah, very proud of that. Yeah.
Just last weekend, one of them was charged with allegedly threatening to kill House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. And a big theme of this task force has been allowing law enforcement to do their job and holding accountable people who go after law enforcement. Do you worry that your actions back on day one undermine what this task force is trying to accomplish?
No, you have thousands of people that we're dealing with, and you know, if one goes haywire, look at what this guy.
I mean, I also brought up the ratio as well. I was like, so out of 1,500, people that Trump pardoned, only eight have committed a crime so far. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, if you want to talk about the whole enchilada, I mean, 8 out of what? 1,500? But then you want to say, oh, well, all these protesters were violent. I mean, if that was true, then wouldn't there be at least 500 of these guys that have reoccurring crimes? Or do you guys actually want to look into the facts of it and realize that some of these guys are arrested and literally held up for no reason? Like, literally. But hey, y'all won't look into that part. But hey, if you guys want to, cry about 8 guys that we will condemn every single time, that we will say that they're not with us and we don't like their language. We'll condemn them every single time. But I'm sorry. I'm just not really I'm really not here for it. I'm really not here for y'all on this one. Be real.
Virginia said where he wanted to kill his opponent. He's going to kill his opponent.
Yeah, especially with Jay Jones. It's like, y'all want to talk about how we're talking in Texas, like the young Republicans, and of course the guy who texted that he want to assassinate Hakeem Jeffries. We condemned that on MAGA. Everybody in MAGA condemned that. Republicans condemn it, but yet you got Jay Jones out here saying it's okay, or he would like to see his opponent's kids die, and Dems are still running behind this man. I'm sorry, I just can't hear you guys right now. I really can't. It's like the hypocrisy is too loud.
He's going to kill his opponent's children and I think wife, and he continues to run, and the Democrats continue. He's running for Attorney General in Virginia. Look what he said. So now, do you think all Democrats should be prohibited from living anymore? I mean, think of what he said. He's going to kill his opponent, and he's going to...
And Lincoln, not all 1,500, but that's something that you don't know. Like I said, I know you ain't really look into it. You just believe whatever mainstream media told you.
To kill the children of his opponent, and I think the wife. I said, this guy's sick. That is a sick guy. And how do you vote for somebody like that? But I don't view that every Democrat would say that, because not every Democrat would say that. So you can't, you could have one person, but I don't know of the incident. I can say we're very proud of what we did. We had the courage to do something that should have been done. The problem sometimes the Republicans are too nice. They're a very nice party. The Democrats play a much dirtier fight. It's amazing. You go after dirty cops like Comey, and you go after, these are dirty cops. Letitia James is a dirty cop. You go after these people and they say how horrible you are, and yet I got indicted 5 times and impeached twice. Nobody says anything about that. They say, oh, they actually said the other day, oh, he's trying to indict somebody. I got indicted 4 or 5 times, Todd, maybe more than that. Yeah, I think you could say 87 times if you really think about it, right? With the charges, a bunch of phony guys, but nobody says anything about that. But they mentioned it the other way. No, the Democrats play a very dirty game. It's all they're good at. They're good at a couple of things: cheating on elections and playing very dirty. And they have one good trait: they stick together. They stick together. They stick together through the worst policies that anybody's ever seen. It's unbelievable how they stick together. And I respect them for sticking together, but it's a dead party because their policies are no good. Okay. Brian, we'll do a few more and we'll go home.
Wonderful.
Everybody's going to go home. I'm going back to the Oval Office, however.
Speaking of Democrats, there's a report that there's a grand jury on Adam Schiff for apparent mortgage fraud. If he is indicted, should he step down as a U.S. Senator?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. I would just say Adam Schiff is one of the lowest forms of scum I've ever dealt with in politics. He's a horrible human being, very dishonest person. I have no idea what's going on. You tell me that he's going to be indicted. I don't know. You could ask Pam. I don't know if she could say it. Probably you are allowed to say it, but I wouldn't know about that. I can only tell you he's a very bad. I think he's actually a sick person.
Comey's been indicted. What was it? Bolton, James Bolton's been indicted. So Adam Schiff, yeah, it's coming. It's coming for him.
Talk about that.
We're not going to comment on any grand jury that's open. We can't legally.
I don't know. By the way, I hope it's true, but I don't know anything about it. Yeah, please. Oh, millions of dollars, yeah. Well, I also give a lot of money to the White House. The White House is, as you know, I give my salary, and I usually like to steer it to the White House because this house was a little bit abandoned. First of all, for 4 years, you had a guy walking around that didn't know where the hell he was. And this house was not taken care of the way it was supposed to be. I take very good care of property. I was very good at that. And you'll notice the floors downstairs, I paid for them. Marble, the most beautiful marble you've ever seen. The white floors down in the Palm Room, which were...
Hey, what can I say, man? The White House needs some remodeling. We needed it. Okay, I'm not going to go too far into the joke before I set the libs off. Because I was really about to say, look, man, we needed the ballroom. We need a golden white ballroom. Why? Because the Prince of Saudi Arabia got it. Some Prince of Saudi got it, okay? That's why we need it, okay? And we need somewhere to, I guess, to have nice parties, wine parties where world leaders meet up and discuss business. Like, we need a ballroom for that. Like, you feel me? Am I selling you on it? Most likely not.
It looked like they came out of, I don't want to lose because they're big supporters of mine, Home Depot. So I'm not going to say bad, but they did come out of a box from Home Depot about 30 years ago. They were all broken, but now they have the most beautiful floors, the most beautiful lights and chandeliers. I think most of you, Brian, you've seen that, right?
Yes.
How beautiful is that? And I take care of it. So I spend millions of dollars on this building, taking care of it. It was not properly maintained. And now it's starting to gleam like it should. It should really gleam. And you should go down and visit the Presidential Walk of Fame. Have you seen it? It's quite good. I'm sure that a lot of people coming to the White House, it's hot. It's very hot. But it's really a tribute to the presidents, past presidents of our country. Yeah, please.
Mr. President.
Yeah, behind you, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
So on Monday, a question for you as well as Secretary Noem. On Monday, Mayor Karen Bass of LA and Representative Robert Garcia, they held a press conference and they called for an investigation into DHS, accusing them of unlawfully arresting U.S. citizens and racially profiling and only arresting people because in Robert Garcia's words, "They look like me." He's a Hispanic individual. Do you have a response to that?
Are you asking me that question?
You as well as Secretary Noem.
They are arresting bad criminals, and they're really good at it too. I look at the numbers. You know, they always like to say that, oh, you're arresting this and that. Then when you check it, you find out, geez, almost every single time. And, you know, obviously every once in a while they may get one wrong, but they always correct it. They're able to correct it. But they are arresting really bad people. They're arresting people that kill, people that would cut your throat and not even care about it. These are brave people, and it's very dangerous. And if they go even a little bit too far, they get into trouble, you know, which is a shame. I protect them, but they get into trouble. But they're arresting very serious criminals, and they're getting them out of here. Okay, one or two more. Doug, do you have a question? I'd love to have Doug have a question, our great photographer, because he's such a great guy, and he might be the most talented person over there. I don't know. Go ahead. Let's hear your question. This guy's a real beauty.
On the cartel strategy, hearing you talk about it as a war, hearing Secretary Hegseth talk about defeating and destroying and the comparisons to ISIS and Al-Qaeda, those efforts took American troops being engaged in foreign countries. Do you think that's ultimately where this is headed with the cartels, having American troops in countries like Venezuela?
No, the cartels are very bad. They a lot of bad people coming in. They were interviewed recently, and they were asking people what their problem was, and one guy said, yes, I'm up for murder. Didn't know what he was saying, obviously.
Now, I will admit, here's a problem with the whole cartel excuse. Is that the problem with the whole cartel excuse is striking these guys in the water and stopping their shipment of drugs? That's fine. But, I mean, it could also be used as a reason to, honestly, take out any Latin American leader we don't like. I mean, oh, yeah, what you mean? Cartel, his whole country ran by a cartel. He's not a legit leader. You know, kick him out and put in somebody that we like. I mean, it could go in that direction. I'm just being real.
Obviously, you know, I'm sure his lawyer was not thrilled with his statement, but no, they're rough people coming into those cartels. Those cartels are rough. You look at what happens, the trip up is horrible, especially for women. They're being killed, they're being raped at levels that nobody thought even possible. In my opening speech, I mentioned that, but in a very light way. I mentioned the word rape. Then it found out that you take a look at what happens in those cartels. It's horrible what's going on. And we're doing the world a big service by just telling them, you know, you don't have too many cartels now because they know when they get up here, they're going to be stopped. Under Biden, they were just flowing into the country. It didn't matter what you were, where you came from, what you looked like, what your record. They didn't check records. Millions of people came into this country that should not be in our country right now. We've gotten a lot of them out. It's the single biggest problem that we were given. Inflation, I've already taken care of. Economically, the country is the strongest it's ever been. Thank God for tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, we'd be a third world nation. But thank God for tariffs. We're the richest nation in the world now because of tariffs. And we're able to economically protect ourselves, and we're able to really protect ourselves from a national security, you know, situation. But we have cartels that, you know, somebody came up with the word cartel. I won't tell you who that person was, but you got a lot of bad people in the cartels. And you could look at a country like Mexico, and I really respect the president. I really respect a lot of the people over there, but a lot of the leadership. But they are in fear in their own country because those cartels are running those countries, okay? And that includes Colombia. Colombia is a drug den. It's a drug den, and it has been for a long time. You got a lousy leader over there right now, bad guy, a thug. But they make cocaine at levels that we've never seen before, and they sell it back into this, and they're not going to get away with it much longer. We're not going to put up with it much longer. Colombia is very bad. Mexico is run by the cartels. I have great respect for the president, a woman that I think is a tremendous woman. She's a very brave woman. But Mexico is run by the cartels, and we have to defend ourselves.
I mean, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But like I said, though, I hope this the whole cartel thing doesn't turn into an excuse to just try to topple any Latin American country we disagree with. Because you kind of see, and I'm just noticing the pattern on how, okay, so Venezuela gets the regime change threat, Cuba gets the regime, well, Colombia gets the regime. Was it Cuba or Colombia? One of them. They get the regime change threat. I think it's the same thing. But guess who doesn't get a regime change threat? Mexico. Why? Because Mexico is actually playing nice with us. Well, at least their president is. But it is kind of funny how we're kind of like threatening two world leaders and then one we kind of just let go on.
Go ahead. Let's go with you. Go ahead. Let's listen to this beauty.
Shutdown by the time you return from your trip to Asia?
Do I expect to have it resolved by the time I return? I don't know. I said long ago we shouldn't have been in this problem. This was September 28th. It came due in Biden's regime, and before the election, September 28th, and they pushed it off into the future. And I was running when they did that. And when you're running, but I did say, what the hell are they doing? That and debt ceiling. They also pushed the debt ceiling past the election date. So that would mean the next president has it. But I did say that I think the Democrats have gone totally crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the Democrats are crying about the price of beef. I mean, I thought y'all was the party of the vegans and vegetarians, but you know what? It is what it is. But yeah, they're crying about beef prices, and I'm just sitting here looking at them like, you guys are acting like the beef price is Trump's fault, but that's far from it. There was droughts. There was a lot of droughts that happened, and farmers weren't able to supply their feed their cattle. This is happening under Biden, by the way, but I'm not going to sit here and blame a drought on Biden. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. So this is the reason why there's a scarce amount of cattle, and this is why our beef prices are going up. Is because one of the scarcity of cattle and the fact that there was a drought and the farmers were barely even able to feed their cattle. So honestly, our beef price going up it's a work of nature. That's just nature. I mean, we can't even blame nobody. Like, what do you do? What you think I'm gonna do? Blame Biden for a whole drought? That's just being unreasonable. Come on.
And
I wouldn't
do
do
what
that.
they're going to do because they don't
blame him for skyrocketing inflation for sure, but a drought, come on now.
care about the people. They don't. I really think they have no leadership. They have a lot of very low IQ people. Jasmine Crockett is a low IQ person. A lot of them are. I don't want to insult too many of them.
Oh, guys, you got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements? I'll be happy to read it out loud. Just $2 and up, help towards a goal, and it's a great way to engage with the show. But I'll be happy to read your comment out loud, and if it's a question, I'll be happy to engage it.
A lot of them are. They have no rudder. I don't think they know what they're doing right now. They've never done this before. They always agreed to go and, called an extension. Let's do an extension and talk. Even today, look at what happened today. They don't want to pay the people that have worked. And, this was supposed to be this was a test. And they wouldn't pay the people that have been working. They said, no, we don't want to pay them. This is all the Democrats. Now, all we need is 5 Democrats. And I know a lot of Democrats that are saying they're more than 5. Probably not that many more than 5, but they're more than 5. And all we need is like 5 Democrat votes so we open our country again. Sad, though, we have the greatest economy in our history. We have the highest stock market. All these things are rocking. We will have by the end of my first year more than $20 trillion of investment. The all-time record is $3 trillion. I think it's China. We're going to have 20 or $21 trillion. We've never had anything like it coming in because of tariffs. The money pouring into our country, the plants that are opening, AI, automobiles, everything. And the Democrats want to close our country. They're really, they say deranged. They suffer. I guess it's Trump derangement syndrome, which I think is going down now as an official condition by the doctors. I think they get paid extra money if they handle it because it's more difficult to handle than a normal mental disease.
Yeah, literally.
But you know what? They really.
I mean, symptoms of TDS is pretty much when Trump could, like I said, when Trump does something good and you just got to find a reason to make it bad. I mean, like I said, you got to do the mental gymnastics to make Trump a bad person for what? Lowering drug prices. For what? Trying to bring back manufacturing to the U.S. Actually, for bringing back manufacturing to the U.S. You got to try to make him a bad guy for some crazy reason. And that is true TDS. Like people always like to say, I mean, the man could cure cancer and the Dems would be mad because why? Oh, well, all the jobs from treating cancer. How could Trump do this to them? It's like, oh, my goodness.
should approve an extension, get the country back to work, get the people paid. And, it's very simple. You can't, you just don't know what's going on. There's something wrong with them. Yeah, it's sad, actually.
Have you raised the full $300 million needed to fund your ballroom? And how much specifically are you donating to this construction project?
I think $350 million. All donor money and money that we put up.
And the donor list has been revealed. It's not people. It's multiple businesses and corporations. So, yeah, I mean, I think Meta even threw in on it. Yes, Facebook threw in on the ballroom. Actually, corporations pay for that ballroom. You know what? I think the libs should be okay with that. I think y'all should be okay with that. We didn't pay for it. The corporate goons did. And I mean, literally, there's like a whole list of corporations that gave to the ballroom, totaling about what, $350 million? I mean, like I said, if it's Trump, I mean, it makes sense that he can sit there and fund a whole ballroom by himself. Like, he has a lot of friends. Well, and of course, he's the president. So, I mean, he has also a lot of pull in the business world.
We've raised, it's going to cost right in the neighborhood of $300 million. It's been expanded and made absolutely, it'll be the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world, I think.
And how much specifically are you donating to it personally?
How much am I donating? I won't be able to tell you until I finish, but I'll donate whatever's needed, I'll tell you that. Do I have a name for the? I won't get into that now. Yeah, go ahead, please.
In the next couple of days, a lot of Americans are going to go without their first full paychecks, federal workers.
By the way, a friend of mine, talking about donors, a friend of mine, a man that's great, I'm not going to use his name unless he lets me do it. Susie can tell you about this, but he called us the other day and he said, I'd like to contribute any shortfall you have because of the Democrat shutdown. I'd like to personally contribute any shortfall you have with the military, because I love the military and I love the country, and any shortfall, if there's a shortfall, I'll contribute it. And today he sent us a check for $130 million. I would love to tell you he doesn't really want the recognition, if you want to know the truth, but he gave us a check for $130 million.
Okay.
Which was sort of a shortfall, yeah. And that's going to go to the military, yeah.
To the military.
Is that the correct number? $130 million. That's what I call a patriot. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, now let's get over to Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on her briefing, which was, I believe, yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday.
I apologize for my tardiness today, so let's get right to it. We'll begin today with some scheduling announcements for President Trump's upcoming trip to Asia. Tomorrow night at 11 p.m., the president will depart the White House to fly to Malaysia, where he will arrive on Sunday morning local time. It's a long flight. President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Malaysia in the afternoon, and then he will attend the ASEAN Leaders Working Dinner that evening. On Monday morning local time, the president will fly to Tokyo. Tuesday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with the new Prime Minister of Japan. On Wednesday morning local time, the president will fly to Busan, where he will participate in a bilateral meeting with the President of the Republic of Korea, deliver keynote remarks at the APEC CEO luncheon, and then participate in a U.S. APEC Leaders Working Dinner. On Thursday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with President Xi of the People's Republic of China before departing to return home to Washington, D.C. On Thursday night, upon arrival in Washington, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump will participate in Halloween at the White House, where they will welcome law enforcement, military, and foster families. And I know many of us look forward to that. In other news, we are now on day 23 of the Democrat government shutdown. Senate Democrats have voted 12 separate times now to keep the government closed. Innocent Americans are suffering every day as a result. More than 500,000 civilian federal employees will miss a full paycheck tomorrow. Thousands of small business loans are going unapproved each month. This means almost $4 billion in capital is being withheld from small businesses across the country. The Democrat shutdown is also causing severe impacts at airports across the country. In one single day this week, the FAA had to issue ground stops impacting flights at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport and Hobby Airport. 13,000 air traffic controllers who ensure that we all fly safely are continuing to work without pay. This is egregious and truly sad. Some of them are reportedly being forced to turn to driving for Uber and taking on other second jobs to make ends meet as the Democrats continue to shut down the government. Pilots are calling on Democrats to end this dangerous political game. The president of the Southwest Airlines Pilot Association called for the clean continuing resolution to be passed, saying, quote, "Our air traffic controllers and the broader air traffic system are already operating under immense pressure. A government shutdown only compounds that stress and threatens the efficiency of our skies." The Airline Pilots Association International, which represents more than 80,000 pilots, is sounding the alarm as well. They said this shutdown is undermining our system's safety. Resources are stretched thin, negotiations are delayed, and strain grows daily. With the Thanksgiving holiday approaching, we are nearing the busiest travel period of the entire year, when millions of Americans will go to airports to spend time with their loved ones. Let us be very clear from the White House today. If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed, we fear there will be significant...
And yes, it is the Democrats. All the Republicans are on the CR bill. All of them, all the senators. We just need five Democrat senators and the CR bill will be passed. So yes, it is. And here's the thing. You guys are the demanding parties. And I'm talking to the Dems. Yes, the Dems are the demanding party. They want $1.5 trillion in Medicaid spending, which they know they're not going to get. So since you guys want to add spending, it's your fault because you shut the government down because you guys didn't get your spending approved. And I mean, let's be real. If you guys would have got y'all spending approved, then the government wouldn't be shut down. So yeah, because we didn't give it to you guys, y'all let the government shut down. So yes, this is a Schumer shutdown. I mean, come on now, sounds way catchier too. Schumer shutdown.
Flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country this holiday season. If Democrats continue to shut down the government, they will also be shutting down American air travel. The White House is in constant communication with the air traffic controllers, with the airline associations, and with them, we urge Democrats to please pass the continuing resolution so we can just end this madness and this chaos and reopen the government. These are very avoidable consequences. The unnecessary pain, unfortunately, does not end there. Funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP, which provides food benefits to low-income families, is beginning to lapse this week in some states. If Democrats continue to hold Americans hostage, there will not be enough funds to provide SNAP benefits for more than 40 million Americans on November 1st. That is next week. Democrats are solely responsible for all of this unnecessary pain. Why are they doing it? To give taxpayer-funded health care benefits to illegal aliens, some of whom are violent criminals. During the 4 years of Joe Biden's administration, the Democrats forced Border Patrol to admit illegal aliens into our country with no legal status and minimal screening. A significant number of these individuals are the worst of
I remember a bunch of border agents basically becoming whistleblowers came out and were just saying straight up, yeah, we're letting these illegals in. They're like, I mean, we used to, this whole catch and release thing has turned to complete BS. We're giving them court dates that they don't show up to. They're crossing open parts of the border, and we don't have enough border agents. And this was all under the Biden administration. There's a reason why at least 10 million illegals made it across. It was like open season.
Rapists, pedophiles, murderers, and even members of the terrorist watch list. Despite having no legal status, paroled aliens were able to file for work authorization, receive Social Security numbers, and access other benefits like Medicaid that are meant for Americans. Since I've found many in this room to repeatedly deny the reality that Democrats gave Medicaid benefits to illegals, and they continue to seek to do just that, I've brought a few verified examples for you.
You know, let's have a funny moment here. I mean, guys crying about SNAP benefits. My SNAP benefits, guys. Well, let's go to this guy here, man, because this is what you guys sound like right here. Don't be this guy.
Trump has cut my food stamps from $2,800 down to $350.
Let's go.
Now, what am I supposed to do? Huh? So I literally just got this piece of mail today saying that due to new policy changes from the Trump administration, all this shit, whatever, that all these cuts and whatever he's doing over there, now they're telling me I have to go work. Now I have to go do all this. Well, I literally got 5 kids. Okay, I'm trying to sit here and spend time with them. I'm not trying to go work, 50, 60 hours a week so I can pay bills.
So Dems, this y'all like this your man's? Cause I ain't gonna lie, he said he voted for Trump, but I'm just like, bro, you didn't know that what was gonna happen here, that you gotta work now to keep your benefits, that now you gotta put into the same system that you take out of. Like, come on now, that's just fair. That's just common decency.
I just really don't understand. I voted for him this last election because I thought what he had good was going on, but now all of a sudden,
I mean, nah, bro, you ain't our man's. You need to go ahead and take it over to the left. They love what you're saying.
All this policy stuff's coming out, and now he's making all these cuts, and now he doesn't want to help the less fortunate people no more. I'm done with that guy. I'm not. If he gets voted in again, I'm leaving this country.
How you gonna leave the country when you can barely afford groceries? You got 5 kids. Boy, you gonna stay your ass right there, man. Quit playing. And you deserve it. Ain't non-working ass. Man, look, give that to a single father that actually works.
Today, these are examples of some of the illegals who received Medicaid benefits under President Biden's leadership, and this is what Democrats are wanting to do. This is why they are continuing to keep the government closed. An illegal alien from Laos was arrested for murder, robbery, and felony possession of a firearm. An illegal alien from Guatemala who was arrested for rape and burglary. Oof. An illegal alien from El Salvador who was arrested for strangulation, DUI, and burglary.
He looks like
an illegal alien from Mexico who was arrested for attempted murder. The Democrats' open border policies allowed these threats into our country, and then they provided them with free health care. The president and the Republicans, through the One Big Beautiful Bill, implemented a common sense reform to end this fraudulent scheme. But that's why the Democrats are continuing to shut down the federal government. They are trying to reverse this and restore taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens like these. Throughout this shutdown, Democrats have said this quiet part out loud. Senator Chuck Schumer, the leader of the caucus that is refusing to open the government, said, quote, "Every day gets better as the shutdown continues." Ask the air traffic controllers if every day is getting better, Senator Schumer, and they will tell you absolutely not. House Democrat Catherine Clark said, "There are going to be families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility seriously, but this is one of the few leverage points that we have." Here is a House Democrat who is admitting that they are using Americans who are suffering as political leverage. And Senator Bernie Sanders said, "If you reopen the government, we lose our leverage." This is pure partisan games.
I mean, when you kind of admit that you shut down the government, isn't that kind of admitting that it was your plan to shut down the government if you see it as leverage? Really think about that. Instead of seeing it as hurting the American people, you see it as leverage. I mean, shout out to the Democratic Party for snitching on themselves, man. You gotta love it. You gotta love when the Dems snitch on themselves. Gotta love that old bastard Bernie, man. You gotta love him.
A senior Democrat aide said the party will not end the shutdown, quote, "short of planes falling out of the sky." That is truly a disturbing statement. The Democrats clearly don't care about this suffering. They care about playing political games against President Trump, and this dangerous charade needs to end. The president and Republicans' position has been clear and unchanged. Pass a clean nonpartisan funding bill to reopen the government. And then we can talk about all of the partisan issues that the Democrats wish to. If you're watching at home, we urge you to call your Democrat senators and tell them to put our country over their party and reopen the government today. Here in our new media seat, we have Brittany Gibson of Axios. Brittany, why don't you start us off for our Q&A today? Thank you for being here.
Two questions, if I may, Caroline. First is, we understand that the president and Republicans will not negotiate on ACA extensions until the government reopens. If and when that happens, what does the president think should be, or what are his plans for preventing?
No, the ACA extensions, that was already agreed upon. They'll give it a 1-year extension. The problem is that we're not giving the Dems the 1.5 trillion in spending, and basically what they want to do is reverse the Medicaid cuts under the big beautiful bill, and then add another 150 billion on top of that. So yes, pretty much reverse the Medicaid cuts, and then add another 150 billion in spending. And remember, these were the same guys that were complaining about the spending in the big beautiful bill that now wants to increase spending. I mean, hilarious. I mean, I guess increasing spending is okay as long as it's the Dems, right? I mean, Biden proved that.
It's a very good question, and I'll leave that to the president to negotiate that when Democrats vote to reopen the government. When it comes to lowering healthcare costs, the president is deeply committed to this. It's why he has spent so much time and effort negotiating with Big Pharma to lower the healthcare costs of prescription drugs. All of you have been in the Oval Office for multiple different announcements. We've had these most favored nations deals with these large pharmaceutical companies committing to lowering drug costs in this country. So it's something that
I haven't heard CNN talk about it, MSNBC talk about it, ABC News. I have not heard about none of them talking about how Trump is low-key one getting most favored nation prices for Medicaid recipients, and then also got Pfizer and AstraZeneca to promise to bring manufacturing over here while also lowering drug prices. I mean, no, nobody reported it. I did, of course, I did, but not mainstream media, which is crazy.
the president wants to do. And Brittany, one more point. I'll just point out.
I mean, you would think the Dems would be happy.
Irony in Democrats holding the government and the American public hostage over a healthcare system that they created. The healthcare system was called Obamacare. Why? Because Democrats and President Obama implemented. And Republicans have always said it's a broken system, yes, but they caused it, and now they want to shut down the government to fix it. We need to open the government, and then we can have these very important conversations about healthcare.
The second, on H-1Bs and foreign students, during the campaign, President Trump said he wanted to make it easier for foreign students to work at U.S. companies, staple a green card to every diploma. But the changes from several agencies now on H-1Bs are adding more obstacles to that. The administration is being sued over those changes. Can you explain the changes in the president's thinking on H-1Bs?
The administration will fight these lawsuits in court. The president's main priority has always been to put American workers first, and also to strengthen our visa system. We know for far too long the H-1B visa system has been spammed with fraud, basically, and that's driven down American wages. So the president wants to refine this system, which is part of the reason he implemented these new policies. These actions are lawful, they are necessary, and we'll continue to fight this battle in court. Garrett.
Two questions on different topics, if you'll
Sure.
indulge me. On the pardon of Changpeng Zhao, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing that name.
Oh, guys, let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in on the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's get back into it.
Binance has significant business interests with World Liberty Financial, the president's family's crypto company. How do you respond to the allegations from Democrats that this is a corrupt act?
I would respond and say the president is exercising his constitutional authority to grant clemency requests. And the president.
I'll be real with you. I can't even. It sounds fishy. I'm be real with you. This sounds fishy. I'm be honest. Trump coin. The plan to, what was it? It was a Russian financial leader. A Russian financial leader pretty much said that America's about to go to crypto and leave everybody hanging with the debt. He releases this Binance guy who basically runs another version of a Coinbase. So yeah, things is looking like a little weird right now, or things actually are just lining up in the wrong direction. Now, I don't know. Am I okay with us just abandoning our debt and going to stablecoin? I mean, hey, if it releases us from the debt, then so be it. It is what it is. But it does seem like they're just playing the well, they're making their moves right in our face.
President and the White House have a very thorough examination of every pardon request that comes to the president's desk. It is thoroughly reviewed by the White House Counsel Office, and I spoke with our great White House counsel about the pardon after it happened. This was an overly prosecuted case by the Biden administration. Even the judge in the case admitted that the Biden administration was pursuing a egregious over-sentencing of this individual, and the previous administration was very hostile to the cryptocurrency industry. So the president wants to correct this overreach of the Biden administration's misjustice, and he exercised his constitutional authority to do so. And to the Democrats, I would just say there's nothing more corrupt than what President Biden did on his way out the door, pardoning his extremely corrupt son and many of his associates.
On the ballroom, first of which will probably be several questions about this today, I imagine.
Is it a big story?
It seems that way. The president's cost estimate has changed several times. I think it's up to $300 million now. Given the nature of all this, will the White House commit to releasing all of the donors and how much they're spending and how much of his own money the president is putting on the line to this?
We have released the full list of donors thus far.
Too late.
Perhaps there will be
Already
more
did it.
people who want to generously contribute to this project. And the president, yes, has committed his own resources. And when he releases that information, which I'm very confident he will, you will all see that.
We'll see a dollar figure from the president.
You know what? I mean, sure, I could show y'all guys real quick. Let's see here. The companies and donors funding new White House ballroom. I mean, shout out to CNN. Shout out to CNN for covering this. Because, I mean, come on now. You know they're petty enough to do so.
While a lot is still unknown about what the final ballroom will look like, other than the fact that it's going to be enormous, we now know who is paying for it. Big companies who have a lot to gain from Trump. I mean, if people don't think that he's going to be looking at this list, well, got another bridge to sell you. There's also a number of high-profile crypto investors and other close allies of Trump. We'll just break down some of these names down. Amazon is on the list. Obviously,
Makes sense.
Amazon's forked out.
Damn. Amazon, yeah, they forked up some bread.
Break down some of these names down. Amazon is on the list. Obviously, Amazon's forked out a reported 40.
So Amazon, I mean, Caterpillar, Booz Allen Hampton. Oh, okay, that's somebody's name. Coinbase, Comcast. Oh, what Comcast? Okay, never mind. That's big money right there. Let's see, Hard Rock International, Google, HP Inc. Okay, yeah. I mean, shoot, does he don't need taxpayer money no more when he got guys like these.
$1 million to air a Melania Trump documentary. Apple is also on the list. CEO Tim Cook there, remember, memorably presented Trump with that 24-karat gold and glass statue.
Yep.
And then there are.
I mean, and lady, what else did he say? Because when he gave Trump this gold and glass statue, what did he say? That he will now be trying to bring a training center that's going to teach Americans how to do end-to-end manufacturing of iPhones in America. So let's not forget his investment promises there too. Like, come on now.
A lot of crypto connections on the donor list. As Dan Alexander of Forbes reported in June, so already back in June, more than half of Trump's net worth was tied to his crypto ventures, 60%. And the largest U.S. crypto exchange, Coinbase, on the list of donors for the ballroom.
Makes sense.
Its CEO is someone who has been singled out by Trump.
Meta platforms.
I also want to recognize some of the count.
Nah, but let's see, Microsoft, Meta platforms. I mean, yeah, that sums it up right there. Don't worry, we'll get back to this video later. But I just kind of wanted to show you the list that they already had when they said, "Oh, we already released the list." Yeah, you damn right they did.
Information, which I'm very confident he will. You will all see that.
We'll see a dollar figure from the president.
Yes, you will. And I would also just add the president has been incredibly transparent. I would reject any notion otherwise when it comes to this ballroom project. It's something he personally has obviously taken an interest into and has talked with all of you in this room many times about. You have seen the model in the Oval Office. Last night he showed that for you. But when this plan was presented and when these renderings, as soon as they were complete, the president directed me to come out here and to share them with all of you. I did an entire opening remarks about what this ballroom project was going to look like. With any construction project, there are changes over time as you assess what the project is going to look like, and we'll continue to keep you apprised of all of those changes, but just trust the process. This is going to be a magnificent addition to the White House for many years to come, and it's not costing the taxpayers anything. The president is privately funding this ballroom addition to the White House grounds. Jennifer.
To follow up on that, one thing that's not in the president's model is the East Wing bunker, the president's emergency operations center. Can you say if his update, that $300 million, does that include the cost for upgrading that bunker?
Look, like any security enhancements that are made on the White House grounds, those will be made and maintained by United States Secret Service. As for the cost of the ballroom and the construction itself, all of that is going to be, like I've said, privately funded and paid for by the president himself and many generous patriots who have stepped up.
Included in that funding, correct?
Well, many generous corporations for the one time in their fucking life. I know. Now, I'd wish they'd give up their money for other, more humanitarian endeavors, but I guess a ballroom's okay. Hey, Dems, I guess this is probably the one time I'm on your side about this.
Okay, and then can you say, well, that's right, I'll skip that one.
Thanks. We just. Okay.
So the White House has explained that the reason you didn't submit construction plans to the NC.
And shout out to my man Jet. He said Trump gutted the whole White House. Stop being whiny bitches. No, literally. I just don't get it. It's like y'all are crying about remodeling, renovations. Like, what? Like, come on now. At a certain point, y'all got to realize how ridiculous you guys are being, crying about the breaking down and the rebuilding of the White House. Why? Why are y'all this mad? It don't make sense, guys. I'm just going to be real with you. At a certain point, it seems a bit delusional. This is a bit delusional. And then you leave yourselves open to get made fun of. And then y'all deserve every bit of it. Like this right here. This is how we make fun of you guys. Man, y'all gonna hate this. But y'all deserve it because y'all leave yourself open for it. I ain't gonna replay it for y'all, but y'all get my point. Like, cry harder.
CPC is because that commission, along with others, don't have oversight over demolitions, but only over construction. And so far, you haven't built anything. So can you help us understand, can the president tear down anything he wants without oversight?
Yeah, Link, because it really don't matter. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's like, bro, I can agree that, I wish the corporations would spend their money on something else besides a ballroom for the White House and something more humanitarian. Then I can also say that the Dems are being absolutely petty about being outraged by it because, well, these corporations are free to do whatever they want with their money. It is what it is. If they want to donate it towards a ballroom for the White House, so be it. It is what it is. Just because I wish for them to do something more humanitarian doesn't take away from the argument that you guys are being silly about being outraged by this, especially when many presidents have done it before.
Can he demolish this building or say the Jefferson Memorial?
So it's not the president who came up with that legal opinion himself. That's a legal opinion that's been held by the NCPC for many years. It's written, so we can get you that background and that research if you wish to include it in your reporting because it is very important. They have ruled consistently. Their general counsel has said when it comes to phase one of this project, the tearing down of the current East Wing structure, a submission is not required legally for that. Only for vertical construction will a submission be required, and that's a legal opinion from them, and we are following that legal opinion. And again, I would just add, can any president do such a thing to the White House grounds? There have been many presidents in the past who have made their mark on this beautiful White House complex. This briefing room, as you all know, was not once a briefing room. It was a swimming pool. There have been presidents who have completely torn down the executive mansion. If you look at what President Truman did, some of the photos of the construction project that took place in those years, I think sitting here today, we're all grateful for those efforts and the modifications that happened at that time. And again, in due time, the East Wing is going to be more beautiful and modern than ever before. And in addition, there will be a big, beautiful ballroom that can hold big parties and state visits for generations to come.
So it sounds like the answer is yes, he can tear down whatever he wants. And then secondly,
that's not what we're saying. That's a legal opinion that's been held for many years. And no, it's something that presidents have done for years and years. In fact, I have some photos here. Thank you, Pat.
Like, what are you saying?
Construction that's taken place on.
That's what I'm saying. Y'all sound stupid when you're acting brand new. Like presidents haven't done this before. Like there's always been a remodeling of the White House somewhere in history in our past. I mean, multiple presidents have done it before. I don't know why you guys are acting brand new, and I don't know why you're getting mad at Trump for remodeling the White House. Do some reconstruction, really, just reconstruction. And let's be real, it's been done before, so this is why it's petty, because you're crying about something that other presidents have done in the past. And yes, I can sit here and say that. Do I really agree with corporations paying up for it? I mean, hey, it is what it is. It's better than taxpayer money, but I do wish they would probably spend their money on, more humanitarian things, but it is what it is. Hey, it's free world. They have free will, do what they want.
The White House grounds. This is the construction of the West Wing in 1902. Look at this, the construction of the West.
Hey, shout out to my man Tristan Allen. He says, yo, he's like, what's going on, man? Appreciate the support, guys.
Terrace in 1902. These images look quite similar to what you and the American people are seeing today, the construction of the East Terrace as well. You look at the construction of the West Wing expansion in 1934. So look, this is a legal opinion that's been held for many years. Look at, this is 1950. It looks a lot like what you're seeing today.
Can he demolish anything he wants?
What do you think that rubble?
Bro, what the woman? Bro, I ain't gonna lie. Caroline Levitt got patience. I'd have probably lost my ish right there. Like, they didn't have to break down anything. Are you stupid? That's what they got to do in the first. That's step one of getting this done. You got to break down everything around to rebuild it, to remodel it, to reconstruct it, and revent it. Well, y'all get what I'm saying, but you definitely do gotta break it down. There's gonna be some rubble around it. So her saying, well, they didn't have to break it down, they didn't have to destroy a wing. Yes, they did. Actually, one of the presidents was petty enough to destroy another president's greenhouse. He just said, F it. It's been here for a while, but I don't like that president. I'm just gonna destroy it and rebuild something else. It's like, it get like that. That's just how presidents are. Not every president has made modifications to the White House, but this one is. And guess what? So have presidents in the past. That's why we're saying you guys are being petty. And it's like outrageous that you're even like thinking that this is something you can stand on. And that's an argument. Like, I just don't get why you guys are outraged, to be quite honest.
Right, so I'm asking, and then back to the donors.
Go ahead, Reagan.
Many of them are.
Reagan, go ahead.
One on
Renovation.
immigration and another on Venezuela. It's being reported that the semi-truck driver suspected of killing 3 people in a DUI crash is an illegal immigrant who came in under the Biden administration. Do you know if California gave him a commercial driver's license? And then it also appears that California largely has not been cooperating with English proficiency standards. I'm wondering if the administration has any further plans to punish the state.
That makes sense.
Yes, I can confirm that California gave this individual a license, and it is something that the Department of Transportation has already looked into. I know Secretary Duffy, who's doing a phenomenal job, has spoken on this many times in the crackdown that the Department of Transportation is taking on these licenses that are wrongfully being issued to people who clearly do not deserve to uphold these positions. As for this case in California, on October 22nd, ICE lodged an immigration detainer for this individual following his arrest by local authorities in California on charges, as you know, of manslaughter while intoxicated and driving under the influence. He killed 3 people, and he first entered the United States.
And it was sad, too, because, I mean, killed 3 people. They got it. It's all on camera, too. I believe I have the footage, actually. Let me see if I can go ahead and find it here in my bookmarks. But I'm pretty sure I have the footage of that crash. Here it is, right here. I mean, viewer discretion advised. So, if you're faint of heart, look away.
Now take a look. This is exclusive dash cam video that is now the subject of several law enforcement investigations. Shows the moment a red semi-truck plowed into a number of vehicles on the westbound 10 freeway
And I'm just wondering what type of drugs you're on to just like fall asleep at the wheel of a truck. I mean, or maybe the methamphetamines finally wore off.
Just after 1 p.m. yesterday. The
Truck
told
drivers.
The LA Times, the driver of this big rig is a 21-year-old man who is now under arrest on suspicion of driving under the influence of drugs. A total of 4 semis were involved and also 4 passenger vehicles, one of them exploding in flames. 3 people were killed and 4 others were taken to local hospitals. This horrific crash happened just east of the 15 freeway and shut down all westbound lanes for more than 12 hours. Thousands of drivers were trapped in the gridlock just as the evening commute was getting underway. It also happened near the Ontario airport, so the crash likely delayed people that were trying to get to their flights.
And RIP to those 3 people. But all right, yo, let's get back to Press Secretary Leavitt. I mean, hey, man, consequences of policies.
States in 2022 through the southern border, and he was released into our country by the previous administration. So now ICE has lodged a separate detainer for this individual, and these tragedies are following a disturbing pattern of these criminal illegal aliens being issued commercial vehicle licenses. And so, yes, the Department of Transportation is absolutely cracking down on that. I defer you to them for any specifics.
Venezuela, President Trump has said Maduro doesn't want to mess with the United States, and this administration is continuing to position more military assets towards Venezuela. I'm wondering if the end goal of this narco-terrorist war is to implement a regime change in Venezuela.
The president has spoken on that, Reagan, and I certainly won't get ahead of him. What we've made very clear is that this administration is not going to tolerate international narco-terrorist organizations from trafficking drugs into the United States. And these cartels over time have grown more armed, well-organized, and violent. They have financial means, sophistication, and capabilities needed to operate in the...
Hey, and shout out to Let 'Em Cook. Actually, no, it's so crazy. I actually probably got to... Here it is.
Let him
All right, shout out to Let 'Em Cook. He says almost every single company contributing to the ballroom fully supported Kamala Harris. Nobody asked how much other upgrades were. I mean, yeah, that's very true. I mean, hey, that's true. But for some reason, like I said, it's Trump. Now it needs to be put under heavy speculation. Has to be some corruption going on. He has to be, for some reason, cheating the American people. It's like, it's always the most duplicitous things assumed. I do not get it. Like I said, it's true TDS. Like, it's just, you gotta be delusional to come to that conclusion every single time. Like, it's just Trump being evil every single time, bro. Like, come on, man. You gotta sit there and be like,
that shit is hard. Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
The way this administration has, and they have illegally caused the deaths of tens of thousands of American citizens each year. So that's where we are right now with respect to Venezuela, but also any country that is sending purposefully illegal.
And shout out Hellbat. He says, say you need to turn the video volume up. Mic is good. All right, cool. Let me see there. Maybe it is a little bit down.
Terrorists to the United States of America to bring illegal drugs. Why don't we go in the back?
The U.S. and Colombia relationship right now is at one of its lowest points in decades. We heard what President Gustavo Petro had to say about President Trump. We heard yesterday the response from President Trump. Is there any kind of compromises or gestures from the Colombian president that President Trump would like to see in order to de-escalate the tensions? Is it possible a de-escalation?
I don't think we're seeing de-escalation from the unhinged leader.
He said Obama's basketball court was $320 million of U.S. tax dollars. I mean, man. But see, that's what I'm saying. They stay very silent when that happens. And I mean, come on now. They wasn't gonna talk about, you know, the patron saint Obama of politics. Like, you know, they weren't gonna say anything to him about it. You know, let the black guy play his basketball at the White House. It's all good. So, it's kind of crazy how y'all stay silent under that. But I mean, like I said, Trump want to create a ballroom. Y'all lose your mind. Barack Obama on a basketball court. Everything's all good. Nobody says anything.
Of Colombia right now, and I don't think the president, frankly.
I mean, let's be real though. Back then, if you did say something, you sound extremely racist. Like, let's be real. It's like you literally walk right into a trap on that one. Please tell me more about how you hate the black president for putting up a basketball court. Please tell me more without sounding racist.
Is interested in that at this point. He spoke on this yesterday, and I don't have anything to add to his comments. Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you. Thank you.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden
I'm going
patio,
into the back. Sorry. Go ahead.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio, is the president looking at any other renovations or significant kind of projects here at the White House?
Not to my knowledge, no. But he's a builder at heart, clearly. And so his heart and his mind is always churning about how to improve things here on the White House grounds. But at this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority. Kristen.
Last week, President Trump announced that he had a productive call with Vladimir Putin. They scheduled a meeting in Hungary. Since then, he has canceled the meeting and he has imposed sanctions on Russian oil companies. Can you talk about what changed that led to this dramatic shift, or even just what occurred in the last week that got us from point A to point B?
Sure. Look, the president has always maintained that.
Sure, I'll tell you the increase in missile strikes from Russia and drone strikes as well. Let's see the threat that Trump might send these guys Tomahawk missiles, which is not going to happen because Trump obviously sees now that that's not going to really help them out on the battlefield, and we might be throwing like $1 million missile at it, like a $26 drone. I mean, come on now.
He would implement sanctions on Russia when he felt it was appropriate and necessary.
$1
And yesterday was that day. I think the president has also long expressed his frustration with Vladimir Putin and frankly both sides of this war. And he's always said in order to negotiate a good peace deal, both sides need to be interested in a good peace deal. And he feels as though, unfortunately, from the Russian side as of late, he has not seen enough interest and enough action in terms of moving the ball forward towards peace. And so a meeting between these two leaders is not completely off the table. I think the president and the entire administration hopes that one day that can happen again, but we want to make sure that there's a tangible positive outcome out of that meeting and that it's a good use of the president's time. Of course, he's traveling to Asia next week. He has a number of events coming up here on the home front as well. He's been incredibly busy, as you all know. You're all tired from covering him and his movements every day. And so we want to make sure it's a good use of the president's time, and the president doesn't want to waste his time, and he said that.
All between the Secretary of State and Lavrov that led President Trump to believe that President Putin or the Russians did not want a peace deal?
That was not the sole reason, no. I think the Secretary Rubio felt that was actually a productive call. But again, the president wants to make sure that a meeting between himself and President Putin will be a good use of his time.
What exactly led to President Trump not believing after his call on Thursday, where he said he did think he wanted peace and wanted a peace deal, to believing that Russians were not?
Again, the president wants to see action, not just talk. And I think the president is extremely motivated by the success of his peace deal in the Middle East to get things done. And he wants
that. And there's been a huge amount of propaganda that's been pretty much pushed in, Ukraine's favor to make it seem like Ukraine has a chance of winning the war, or as if they're winning the war, when that's just not true. I mean, if you just lay things out with common sense, or just let's use logic. If Ukraine was winning, then why are they asking us for missiles? If Ukraine is winning, then why isn't Russia asking to stop the war? Because usually the losing side is the one asking for it to stop. I mean, of course, and it does seem like, Russia's winning because, well, they don't really care if it stops or not. Ukraine's the one that cares if it stops. So how can we sit here and say that Ukraine is winning again? Because that just does not match up with reality.
This war to come to an end. He's been saying it now for 9 months being in office.
Oh, and shout out my man Tristan. He says, look it up. I'll look it up right now. F it, I'll look it up right now. Let's see. South Grounds tennis court was adopted for both tennis and basketball. Who played? Let me see if I can find out. All right, here, and shout out Tawaski. Trump need to identify as black. See what they say. Oh, bro, I ain't gonna lie, bro. That's the day that some of the Dems will be like, finally, I could say the N-word with the hard R, and I will be celebrated for it because it's Trump. If Trump just was to automatically hit it like a reverse Michael Jackson and start turning black, I mean, hey man, you gonna start hearing that hard R a whole lot more.
And he's grown increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress from both sides of this war. Mary.
For example, two quick construction questions, if I can. You mentioned any construction project comes with changes. The president had initially said that this project wouldn't interfere with or touch the current structure. Now he says to do this properly, he realized that the East Wing had to be demolished. This is the people's house. Why not inform the public of that change and when it was decided that the East Wing would have to be demolished?
Look, again, with any construction project, changes come, and we have informed all of you. We've been keeping you apprised of this project. We've shown you the renderings. And if you look at the renderings, it's very clear the East Wing was going to be modernized. In fact, I said that in the briefing when we initially introduced this plan to all of you and to the public. The East, well, again, the plans changed when the president heard counsel from the architects and the construction companies who said that in order for this East Wing to be modern and beautiful for many, many years to come, for it to be a truly strong and stable structure, this phase one that we're now in was necessary. And the president wants to do right by the people's house. And so that's exactly what he's doing. It's going to be, again, like I said, much more stable, strong, secure, and more beautiful than ever once it's complete.
And the First Lady's offices, where will those be? The First Lady's offices, the Social Secretary's office, in the East, they will be back where they were?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Cattle ranchers who supported the president's election have raised some concerns about plans to import beef from Argentina. How will the Trump administration support those farmers?
Look, the president hears those concerns. He addressed them yesterday himself. President loves our ranchers, and our ranchers love our president. And in fact, the president did a lot for them in his first term here. They are struggling because of the many horrible policies of the previous administration. President loves our ranchers, and he also loves American consumers, and he wants to do right by both. So the immediate solution to the problem of the rising cost of beef, president wants to bring that down, as we have to increase our supply.
Yep.
And so that's what he's doing with respect to these
I mean, and yeah, and here's the thing. I know there's a lot of farmers crying about it, but it's just like, bro, I hear you, but and this is what the farmers are literally telling us, because you can't blame Biden, you can't blame Trump. There was a drought that happened. I mean, it was about for 2 years straight. There was a drought under Biden, and it is what it is. You can't blame Biden for a drought. So due to this drought happening, their cattle diminished because they had less feed for their cattle, and they started selling off a lot of their cattle. And now that things are all good again, and there's no drought, and they're able to get their stock back up, well, now they don't have too much cattle to process meat, or to make into meat. And here's the thing: it's not really bad business practice, but it's more of an unlucky situation. I mean, hey man, when nature hits, right?
Ports. The president also is looking out for our ranchers with a long.
So yeah, we kind of do have to go out there to Argentina and go ahead and bring in more beef to bring down our price, because we can't let that supply get diminished or let it be, too limited. And I do understand our American farmers want us to wait, but bro, unless you out there cloning cows and we go and start eating cloned cow meat, which I would not want to do, but unless y'all start doing that, it's going to take about a couple years for you guys to regain y'all cattle, or to regain the size of y'all cattle, or regain the number of cattle that y'all used to have. It's going to take some years. Y'all got to accept that. Until then, we're going to have to outsource the meat so we can bring down those prices. If not, I mean, we can just get American made meat, and I ain't tripping about that. I mean, it ain't that bad. But I mean, if you want to bring down prices for your average American, then you are going to have to go ahead and, bring in that Argentina beef.
Term plan that was released by the Secretary of Agriculture yesterday. It's a 3-part plan. It's very extensive and detailed. I would encourage all of you to read through it. But there's really 3 points to this plan that the president has agreed upon and has entrusted Secretary Rollins to implement.
Link, tariffs ain't got nothing to do with this. I just told you it was a drought. Like, tariffs ain't got nothing to do with the beef sales or the fact that prices are going up. I literally told you it was a drought that you can't blame on nobody, and you still try to make it about Trump. Like, you see the TDS, my friend?
Number 1, strengthening U.S. cattle production through increased grazing access, endangered species reforms, enhanced disaster relief, increased access to capital, and reducing costs for new and young ranchers. We want to...
Yeah, the Obama court. Yeah, the Obama basketball court. Now, yeah, actually, I do believe Link was right on this one, Tristan. He did say that, he did say that it was a repainted. So yes, there wasn't a new build. Obama had the existing outdoor tennis court restripped and added a removable hoop so it could be double as a full basketball court. The government never published a cost, and coverage described it as a simple conversion, no evidence of large taxpayer money outlaid. This is coming from whitehouse.gov. President Obama Home Court Center. So President Obama Center Home Court. Now that, had a city permit list of about 81 million in construction costs from the home court building. Now, if you want to talk about, President Obama Presidential Center, sure, That got some investments, but not Obama's basketball court. But Obama's presidential center, they're the ones like, you know, who actually got the basketball court made and about $81 million in construction costs. But I believe that's all for donations. That's all for donations. So yes. So shout out. But shout out, man. Shout out Tristan and shout out Link.
Incentivize more Americans to get into this noble profession, lowering long-term costs by cutting inspection costs, increasing market options for consumers with Product of USA labeling, and ensuring consumers know that they are eating American beef. It's a good incentive for the American consumer.
He said, oh, shout out to Let Him Cook. He said, also, as a fellow black streamer, I know nobody calls you that magic word faster than liberals, bro. Oh my God. Thank you, bro. I swear to God, there's some libs who honestly don't understand how racist their side can get. They really think that all the racists are on MAGA. They think that there's no racists on their side. I'm like, dog, y'all don't even understand how racist you guys will get as soon as somebody will disagree with you guys. I'm not saying, you know, the libs in here personally, but some of y'all don't know y'all own. We know our own. We know we got racists over here. Y'all don't. Y'all need to recognize, though. And shout out to my man. Let's see. He says Nayex Utama. Hey man, that's the best one I could do. He said, is this chat real? As an actual butcher, you are wrong. I get y'all don't understand how beef farms work, but fuck, don't spread this misinformation. Well, butcher, you didn't say how I was wrong. You just said that you're a butcher, and we're just supposed to believe you without providing any real information on, you know, how your butchery expertise, you know, proves that I'm wrong. I mean, I would hope that you'd put more explanation into that since you being a butcher, and to give you the chance, because, you know, I ain't gonna sit here and call you a liar. You can go ahead and explain it in the chat, and I'll go ahead and I'll post up the response. But you just saying a butcher without providing any knowledge, it doesn't really do anything.
And lastly, growing the domestic herd while boosting long-term demand to reduce prices for consumers while growing the markets for our ranchers. So President hears them. He has to address both of these problems.
100% repost his stream. I mean, all right. So I guess you're not going to provide us with your, you know, knowledge in butchery, and, you know, just tell me how I'm wrong, because you being a butcher has nothing to do with what I said. Nothing at all, my friend. I'm talking about a drought, and I'm talking about the number of cattle due to the drought, due to the fact that they could not feed their cattle. They started selling some of them off. What the fuck does butchery have to do with that? What does that have to do with it, bro? Nothing. Nothing at all. Like, bro, I mean, really, the number of cattle is before you. You start cutting up the slices and pricing it at your own. That's what you do. The cattle on the farm, we don't got enough of those to have a low meat price. Like, what does butchery have to do about that? We're just talking about the number of cattle that we have that these farmers are complaining about. How they don't have enough cattle because they went through a drought and it cost them a lot. Like, they could barely feed them. So they started selling them to keep afloat. What does that have to do with being a butcher? Like, please.
For the ranchers, but also for the American consumer. He promised to lower costs, and that's what he's committed to doing.
Caroline, thank you. Two questions not on the ballroom. The first is, there's a Democrat in Texas who's actually running for Congress who said last night during an interview when talking about fighting Republicans and this administration, quote, "If you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face. I'm going to go across your neck." This has obviously really upset those folks over at Turning Point USA after the Charlie Kirk assassination. Just your response to that kind of rhetoric?
Just very jarring rhetoric. And I think it's very unacceptable. I hope the people of Texas will do the right thing and reject this person's candidacy. It should have no place in American politics.
And then just a quick second question on oversight Democrats that are saying that they're creating this master ICE tracker, basically tracking all ICE activity. We've seen the protests.
And shout out to Tawaski. He says, let's see here. My uncle tried to do the cow thing, but he said the process line was too long, like 3 years long. So he sold down to other farmers. Oh, wow. See? Yeah, he tried to do the cow thing. He said the process is too long. I mean, it takes years real with you. It's not like we're cloning cows out here. It literally takes some time for cows to have kids or babies and reproduce, to have calf. So we're like, I'm not sure what that whole butchery comment was about, because we're talking about having enough cattle to bring down meat prices. That has nothing to do with butchery. So you talking about you cutting meat, I mean, that didn't help. But shout out to my man Tawaski, because that is actually the point I was bringing around to, is that we don't have enough time to sit there and wait years for these guys to rebuild their cattle, or else we'll just have to deal with these high meat prices. I mean, it is what it is. And I know these guys are feeling sold out, and I can't even say bad, business practice. It's just unfortunate what happened to them.
In New York just yesterday, Homeland Security is saying that this sounds like obstruction of justice. What do you say?
Again, this is actively putting the lives of our ICE agents at risk. We've seen media outlets, in fact, in this room, also write stories about ICE tracker apps that Democrats and other left-wing activists have created to track the location of ICE agents on the ground. And
no, good question, though. How people feel about, Argentina beef. I think Fox Chase said something pretty good about it. I'm gonna have to go look it up myself. Who knows, guys? Who knows? The Argentina beef might actually hit. Might actually be something worth writing home about. But hey, and look, I would love to sit here and just be, only meat in America. I only want to eat the meat sold in America. And trust me, I'll stick to that. I'll most likely stick to that. But hey, if bringing in Argentina meat brings down the prices of American meat, then it is what it is.
Our communities. Again, I've said this repeatedly and I will continue to say it. The men and women of ICE are outstanding people. I wish a Democrat on Capitol Hill would actually have the courage or the guts to stand up to their party and sit down with some of these men and women who are doing this incredibly difficult job of enforcing our federal immigration laws. They are, again, simply trying to enforce the law and do their jobs. And if Democrats spent a little bit more time understanding that and also focusing on the people who they are trying to get out of our country every single day. As I spoke about earlier, 3 innocent people in California are dead because an illegal alien who Democrats let into this country was wrongfully issued a trucker's driving license and clearly was not fit for the job because he was driving intoxicated and killed 3 innocent people. Democrats should focus a little bit more on that. Stop trying to fight this president and this administration on every turn and restore law and order. That's all that we and these brave men and women of ICE are trying to do. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have 2 questions, one on San Francisco and one on the No Kings protesters. On San Francisco, the president said that he had a call with the mayor and he was planning on surging there, but now because the mayor really wants to fix it up himself, they're going to do that. Is this what Trump hopes happens in pretty much every city?
The president hopes, and I've said this so many times, and I think the president's conversation with the San Francisco mayor last night and his statement today prove the president is willing to work with anyone across the aisle, across the country, to do the right thing and clean up America's cities. He is genuinely interested in this effort to make our streets safer, to make our cities safe and clean again. And he heard from the mayor last night, who told him that he is going to earnestly try to make his city better on his own. The president heard him out. He said, okay, I'll give you a chance. We'll be watching, and if you need us, we are here. And if I feel as though you continue to fail your citizens, the federal government may have to step in. But we'll continue to watch San Francisco, and that law enforcement operation has now been paused.
Thank you. And then on the No Kings protesters, I saw videos of people explicitly calling for violence against Stephen Miller, against the president, shirts saying we don't have enough assassins, calling for more political violence. Does the president want to see arrests here, and are we going to see arrests of these?
And shout out to my man Tristan. He says you would need hundreds of millions of cows born every year to be born in the U.S. to supply beef where we don't have to import beef. Yeah, literally. I mean, we literally got to get our numbers up. I mean, like I said, unless we're about to start cloning cows, then it's going to take a minute. It's going to take a while. We got to give them a couple years to get their numbers up, and then we won't need so much imported beef. Until then, to make sure we have a grip on pricing, we do got to bring in that Argentina beef.
Types of explicit calls to violence.
I would think myself, the president, and everyone here at the White House certainly hopes that anyone who is making violent and illegal threats in that way against public officials will be arrested and prosecuted.
Sure.
Thank you. 2 questions. Would the president support the Senate ending the legislative filibuster to end the shutdown?
This is something I haven't heard the president talk about much, so I don't want to speak on him for it. I'll let him answer that question himself.
Can you have an update on the NASA administrator nominee? Do you plan to nominate anyone soon? Or does the president nominate anyone soon?
Sorry. I'll leave that to the president himself. He'll make a decision in due time, and when he does, you will hear directly from him, as you always do. Back, we'll give our friends in the back a chance. Yes.
As you mentioned at the top of the briefing, USDA has warned that it will run out of funds to pay full SNAP benefits next month if the shutdown continues. Senator Hawley is floating a bill that would ensure SNAP benefits are continued to pay during the shutdown. Would the president support such a move? And you also announced that the administration was using tariff revenue to keep WIC going during the shutdown. How long will that last? And is anything similar being considered for SNAP?
Yes, the administration would absolutely support that legislation. We hope that it would come over the finish line, but the bill that will get everyone paid and put everyone back to work is the clean continuing resolution. That's what the president and Republicans want to see.
We all want to see.
Ed, go ahead, Ed.
Thanks, Carolyn. On the Russian sanctions again, how much pressure do you think the sanctioning these two Russian companies actually puts on President Putin? Because the last administration sanctioned two other oil companies. So how much economic pressure is this really?
A lot. If you read the sanctions and look at them, they're pretty hefty. And I saw some international news out of China this morning that they're scaling back oil purchases from Russia. We know India has done the same at the request of the president. The president has also pushed European countries, our allies, to please stop their purchases of Russian oil as well. So it's full court press for sure. And we expect that these sanctions are going to do harm, as the Secretary of Treasury said yesterday.
Could there be more? Is this just the first step, or could there be more sanctions?
I'll leave that to the president to decide. Sure.
Video or heard the NBA gambling involved in the gambling issue there. Does the president?
I called it. I remember I was telling one of my friends, I'm like, look, bro, I don't trust that sports betting because like I thought it was a bad idea. I said, as soon as we introduce like this sports betting, I bet you that players are going to start pulling matches or start pulling games, going to start faking injuries. I mean, things are about to start getting crazy. It's about to be back like when the mob used to run things, like when they used to cook the books and all that wild stuff. So, yeah, this is the problem with online gambling. This is why I say you guys should stop, because it's going to start being manipulated by the players. And this is why I think we should stop sports betting, because it's taking the integrity out of sports. Well, honestly, if it hasn't now, it will in the future.
Gamble, what do you think about that?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't think he does. I've been with him quite some time, and I have not seen him gamble before. I don't think he's a big gambler, but you can ask him yourself for next time you have a chance to, Ed. Go ahead.
Thank you, Carolyn. I've got two
Hi,
quick
Jake,
questions.
and then we'll go to you. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Two quick questions. Back to the ballroom. It is a very spectacular ballroom, according
Thank
to the
you.
renderings. And if it's half as nice as the one in Mar-a-Lago, then future presidents are really going to appreciate it.
They will. Thank you, Jake.
First of all, is there like an official name? Like, are we calling it the Trump Ballroom, or does the president have a vision for what the name for the ballroom is going to be?
There will be an official name. I will let the president announce that once he firmly decides on it.
My second question is, looking at these renderings, and it kind of got me thinking, he's likely going to go down as the greatest builder of this era, and you've been in on a lot of those meetings with him. Has, to your knowledge, has the subject of rebuilding the Holy Temple in Jerusalem come up?
It has not. No, it has not. I don't. I'm sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
Caroline, on the CC pardon, could this clear the way for Binance to resume U.S. operations?
I won't get ahead of that. That's something for Treasury or the Departments of Commerce to comment on, so you're welcome to ask them.
Right. And then one follow-up question. Any more details on the president's Walter Reed visit? The readout from his doctor mentioned advanced imaging. What procedure was he referring to?
Advanced imaging is something that presidents receive and people receive when they go to the doctor, and so we provide a detailed readout of that physical, and I would encourage you back to that. Presidents and I don't know the exact imaging that took place, but as the physician's note said, the president is in incredibly good shape, and I think that's evidenced here every single day. Danny.
Caroline. Back to the ballroom, I'm afraid. I just wanted to ask, because in July the White House said that it would cost $200 million. Yesterday the president said $300 million. Is $300 million now the operative figure, and why did it go up by so much?
$300 million is the figure, and again, it's not going to cost the taxpayers a dime. So we look forward to this project continuing, and we will continue to keep everyone apprised on it. Perhaps the president will even bring you all out to see it one day at the appropriate time. You're also going to hear from the the president directly. In about an hour, he's hosting an event with the Homeland Security Task Force. This was a newly created federal task force that the president and his law enforcement team have put together. I would encourage you all to tune in to the remarks. They have really done a tremendous job at refocusing how federal law enforcement and local law enforcement work together. There will be some local sheriffs and law enforcement officials in attendance as well, and they'll be talking about the success and the many arrests they have made of drug traffickers and cartel members all across the country by just simply working together. So we will see you at the event. Thank you.
All right, now let's go ahead and get even to the left side of media with the farmers, beefing with Trump. Funny. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into this video real quick. We're going to start off on the left side of media.
President Trump's plan to buy more beef from Argentina is getting seared by American cattle ranchers. A White House official telling CNN the administration plans to let more beef from Argentina onto the shelves at American stores to help lower record prices on beef here in the U.S. And now President Trump is facing backlash from U.S. cattle ranchers to Republican farm state lawmakers. Here's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responding.
The president loves our ranchers and he also loves American consumers, and he wants to do right by both. So the immediate solution to the problem of the rising cost of beef, the president wants to bring that down as we have to increase our supply. And so that's what he's doing with respect to these imports.
We're joined now by Buck Wehrbein. He is the president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Buck, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Brianna. Happy to be here.
And do you hear the president? He says American ranchers, quote, have to get their prices down. How is that landing with cattle ranchers?
Impossible.
Well, it's deeply concerning to all the producers out here because we have spent generations improving the genetics and the processes that we use and the feed that we use and so forth to where we produce the best and most high quality product ever.
I mean, that's great and all, bro. I get it, bro. Our American beef is great. It's high quality. Your methods are great. But guess what? You're not producing enough of these high quality cows.
Here.
I mean, you can't just sell the American people on, oh, well, look, man, can we just keep the meat pricing high because, higher quality? Yeah, American people aren't trying to hear that, my friend. I'll be honest with you.
And the price is up because the herd is down. And so more supply will cause the price to go down. However, the problem is, as the president talks about this, his rhetoric is heard by our markets, like our futures markets, and they respond immediately and violently, which impacts us directly and immediately, but has no impact on the retail, what the consumer buys. And so it's misguided. We understand what he's trying to do, but it's misguided because it's hurting us and not helping the consumer. It'll take a long time for the price to come down in the grocery.
Actually, no, not at all. As long as if there's an increased supply of beef, then prices are just automatically going to fall. That's just basic economics. As quantity increases, price falls. As quantity diminishes, price increases. It's just basic economics, supply and demand, my friend. But shout out Tristan, he says, bring down the prices, allow more cows to be bred. Yeah, but the way this man is talking is like he's like saying, oh, well, keep meat price expensive, but so just give us time, man. American people, just eat that extra expensive beef, and give us time to get more cattle. And I'm thinking like, yeah, buddy, you need to focus on breeding more cattle. Like, it's great that you got, they're well fed, they look like they got nice shiny coats, the ribs look like they'd be immaculate, but you don't have enough of them.
Yeah, explain that timeline. How long would it take? What can cattle ranchers do to get the price down, as you do have?
And that is true. Bring the prices down, allow more cows to be bred, And I would say for him, yeah, bringing prices down. Maybe he don't sell that much beef. Maybe he can, start saving up on cattle. I'm like, the main problem here is that this guy is kind of, he's preaching for his people, and that's fine because I'm pretty sure the farmers just want to tell us, secretly want to tell us, hey, look, man, just take the higher beef prices because we need time to, rebuild our stock of cattle. Instead of you guys just going to ship it in from Argentina, and now all of us have to lower our prices. I mean, hey, it is what it is.
This issue with herds being small.
Correct. The herd is small because of lack of feed, drought, things like that, input costs going up. And part of it, a lot of it, quite a bit, is uncertainty. And uncertainty comes from things like overregulation and also uncertainty with the markets, which of course we're talking about happening with the president's rhetoric. And so the market will cause the herd to be rebuilt, and it is by high prices. The old saying in the markets are high prices, or the cure for high prices is high prices. So this will happen naturally. We want it to occur naturally, not be manipulated.
Do you see consumers
I
turning
mean, that's
away?
the problem, though. If it's not manipulated, it just works out for you guys, and the American consumers kind of SOL. So it's kind of, hey, I mean, it's crazy. Like I said, hey, the corporate elites will tell you straight to your face, screw you, man. Just let us keep our high prices. I mean, we understand we can't make enough cattle. We can't just force breed cattle. So please just eat the high price instead of inviting in more supply of beef. So everybody got to drop their prices. Please don't do that to us. I mean, hey man, it is what it is. Maybe that'll give you guys some time. In 2 to 3 years, we'll be right back on predominantly American beef. But until then, it might be half and half. Man. And shout out to Hellbat. He says, as long as it's not someone like Skid, I'm done. And yeah, I will be letting up people, guys. Let's see here. How far are we away from the goal since Hellbat super chatted in? We are about $44 away. Wait. Nope. About $41. $41 away from opening up the call-in line. Appreciate the support, guys.
Away from beef, there's some reporting that demand has plateaued as we've seen record high prices. Are you seeing that?
Well, I'm not an economist, Brianna, but what I see and hear from...
And shout out to she says, and shout out to hey sis, and she says they are charging double per pound than what the cows are actually worth. Part of the problem is all the genetic testing and breeding they have done. I mean, yeah, they said, oh, we did this, we've improved our process to give you the best meat ever. And I'm just like, okay, you spent all this time on making a few cows meat delectable, but now you've missed out on a high stock of cows. So now you done essentially you're gonna have to raise your prices because now you have a low quantity of beef to go off of. I mean, did they do it to themselves in a way? Did they have to sell off their cattle like that? I don't know. But hey, you can't really blame the farmers all the way out.
The people that are, is that the demand remains strong. We all know you can only go up so far, and cattlemen are professional warriors, and we worry about that, of course. But the demand for our product, because of what I was saying earlier, the quality of it so far has remained very, very strong. Remember, people don't have to buy beef. There are other proteins that they can choose from, and yet they continue to buy ours.
Yeah, tell that to my kids on Burger Friday. They're not going to let me get away with something else, I'll tell you that. What policies would you like to see pursued instead?
I mean, like I said, there's also brand loyalty as well. I mean, hey, just because you guys got to keep your prices high and Argentina beef is low, I mean, people are still going to buy the American-made beef just off brand loyalty or just being a patriot.
Your message to President Trump?
Hey, we're that petty
Thank you,
about it
Brianna.
sometimes.
There are things that they can do and could do immediately. We have a bad pest making its way through Mexico that's going to get here. We're not sure when, but called the New World Screwworm. And that's going to add to making our supply low. And it also adds to the uncertainty I mentioned. And we're very grateful that the administration and Secretary Rollins has committed a lot of money for a facility to combat that in South Texas. That was talked about in August. Nothing has happened yet. So turning some dirt and getting some work going on that would be very good. We've got regulations like the Endangered Species Act, and we've got gray wolf that is now.
Huh. Okay. Shout out Hellbat. He says, how much you want to bet all that testing resulted in infertility issues per herd? I mean, yeah, because instead of trying to sell us on, all right, how can we get more cattle? He's trying to sell us on, well, oh, our cattle is just so high quality though. So why would we don't worry about having more in these exorbitant meat prices. Just, worry about how high quality that beef is. I'm like, I don't know, man. You can't tell that to your average American who's trying to save money. You can't tell that to them. I mean, they're going to say, bring in the Argentina beef. They're going to say, bring it in.
Killing lots of calves, black vulture, things of that nature that could be delisted that would help us.
No.
And just
shout out Lincoln. From your liberal friend, eat more soy. We cannot do that. Stay away from soy. As a man, is bad for your testosterone. You will kill your testosterone. You will turn into a female overnight. The soy is turning the men gay, okay? They're turning the men gay with the soy. All right, I'm just playing. I'm sorry. I was having myself a bit of conspiracy moment. Yes, they're turning the men gay with the soy. No, but it does mess with your testosterone levels.
Just removing some of the uncertainty. The uncertainty of the market is the big one.
Yeah, and we notice in the president's statement, he says he loves cattle ranchers, and he's enjoyed a relationship, so have cattle ranchers, where they have felt, I think, close to the president and taken care of by his policies. Are they surprised by this? Are they feeling a little rocked by this? How are they describing this Argentina beef incident and what it has them thinking?
I don't want to speak for everyone, but what I hear from people is rocked is probably a good word for it. They applaud what he's trying to do. There's a noble purpose here, but
and shout out to my man Hellbat. They already turned the frogs gay. I know, right? They did that with the atrazine in the water. Can you imagine what they're going to do with the soybeans? I mean, bro, imagine start putting atrazine in soybeans. I mean, bro, we're cooked. We're cooked, bro. It's like, bro, your kid gonna come out with like a high-pitched voice. Shoot, you gonna have a high-pitched voice at the end of your atrazine soybean combo.
Market is taking care of this.
But all right, though. But now, I'm kind of tired of listening to this man complain about, oh, don't bring in the beef because I have to lower my prices. Please let me sell you on the quality, just how high quality my beef is, while also telling you to just go screw yourself and pay those high beef prices. Man, you gotta love corporate greed, man. You gotta love it.
To make the peace stick.
Like, I can smell the corruption in the air. But all right, guys, let's go over to Vance, pretty much engaging the press after he came back from Israel. Did he kiss the wall? Most likely.
Hey guys, how are you? Well, look, had a final productive day in Israel. Today I was mostly focused on meeting with the Ministry of Defense in Israel, understanding the security situation on the ground in Gaza, and obviously meeting with some of our military personnel as well. I mean, the whole purpose of this trip was to try to understand how to make the peace stick, how to move on to phase 2 successfully, and a big part of that is just understanding what would be necessary to.
Oh, and shout out Tove. Sorry, almost missed you there. Shout out Tove. During the Great Depression, cattle ranchers had quadrupled the amount of cows. Damn, there is today. On less feed, worse droughts. Yes, I have cattle ranchers. They never feck with genetics. They never F with genetics and are doing fine. And I mean, yeah, the guy just is pretty much say like, look, we're doing all this genetic testing to make our cow oh so delectable. Like the meat is fall off the bone. You don't even got to cook it. It's like something crazy like that. So yeah, I mean, when you do all that genetic testing, I mean, you said it and Hellbat said that might have caused some infertility issues. And I don't think they want to walk back on their practices because I mean, I guess that lowers the quality of their meat. And I guess they're famous for their high quality meat. So here's the thing, stick to that. But don't get mad when Trump want to bring in more meat to bring down prices. I mean, look, you got brand loyalty. Your meat's that high quality, great. Let's see how it goes in the market, because the market decides all. The market never lies. I mean, shout out to the market. And let's see here. Oh, yeah, he says, for your liver, eat more soy. Deer farmers. Oh, yeah, shout out my man Tristan. He says, deer farmers wouldn't be a bad, deer farms wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, you're right. It wouldn't be a bad idea, but I feel like you'd have to, like, cut out a whole forest if you want to do that. I don't know, just to make it fun. And shout out Hellbat. He said they already turned the frogs. Okay. So, okay, my bad, Tove. I accidentally missed your super chat.
Police and secure Gaza so that on the one hand, we can provide stability and hopefully some humanitarian assistance to the Gazans, but on the other hand, ensure that Hamas is unable to threaten Israel. So it was a productive trip. I appreciate the Israeli government for hosting me. Really appreciate all the folks from Central Command in particular who are trying to make this peace stick. It's very important for our country, and I think that we're on a very good pathway. It's very early, but it's a good start.
Do you feel like you were able to make any progress towards phase 2 of the president's peace agreement during this trip?
Well, I do. And in fact, not just me, but the entire team. I know Marco's going to arrive in just a couple of hours. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are in Saudi Arabia. And then I believe right now they're actually in the UAE trying to marshal support for the International Security Force. It's very early, but I do think that we've made a lot of progress in understanding what the composition of the ISF would look like and understanding what would be necessary for it to actually be effective, and then just to understand how Central Command is going to work with the troops who are going to actually be on the ground. Again, no American troops on the ground, but American troops supervising and mediating the peace, understanding what that relationship would look like. That's really what I was here to do. I think we did make some progress. I'm going to go back home and continue to work on it.
So, Vice President, did you get any clarity on how the Israeli government and other partners plan to disarm Hamas? Obviously, that's a key sticking point moving forward in this process.
Well, look, our hope of the administration is that the International Security Force is going to now take the lead in disarming Hamas. That's going to take some time, and it's going to depend a lot on the composition of that force. There are certain countries who I expect will be quite good at it. There are other countries that can play a role, but I don't think are going to be quite as useful. But a lot of that depends on which force is actually.
I don't know. As long as it's an Arab country, they're not going to have too many complaints.
Come to bear and how we're actually able to implement this phase 2 of the peace plan. I do think that we're in a good place. I mean, for all of the difficulties and all the problems, right now, I think we can say with confidence that Israel's respecting the ceasefire, Hamas is respecting the ceasefire. There are exceptions. There are little exceptions that break out here and there. That would be expected when these two parties.
Okay, he says some cattle ranchers are importing Aussie Wagyu cows. Really? Aussie Wagyu cows, huh? I mean, first time hearing that. Hey, that's also a smart idea too. I mean, look, guys, if you guys don't want to wait on it, you could just buy cows from other countries. I mean, except for India, but yeah, you can buy cows from other countries and increase your stock that way.
Been at war for
breed it with the high quality beef, and maybe you get like a mixed breed of quality there. I don't know, maybe you don't have to do all that genetic testing.
2 years, but so far the ceasefire is actually holding, the peace is actually holding, and now we're trying to figure out how to make it stick over the long term.
And can you talk about the reconstruction plan? Jared Kushner in the press conference with you said there was some consideration of giving funds to areas not controlled by Hamas. Is there a dividing line? Do you have any details about what that reconstruction plan would look like at this point?
Yeah, I mean, right now, look, there are two basic areas of Gaza. One area is, I don't know, maybe you've got 100,000, 200,000 Gazans living in that area. It is largely Hamas-free. Not perfectly Hamas-free, but it's largely secure.
Did I say Tristan or Tove? Okay, shout out Tove. My bad. I thought that was Tristan saying that. My bad. Got you two mixed up. It's kind of funny because, look, you both got the T. There. Except his lowercase and yours is capital.
And then you have what we're calling the red zone, which is where you still have significant Hamas presence. It's still quite dangerous. We think that we can start reconstruction of the areas that are free of Hamas very quickly. We think that we could potentially get hundreds of thousands of Gazans living in that area very quickly. But again, this is all.
I don't know, man. A lot of people are coming out saying it's going to take to like 2050 to just clear out the debris. And that's not even building, to clear out all the debris. So unless we got some type of new fancy way of building cities, I highly doubt we're just going to get it up and running. Like, I highly doubt it. Like I said, unless we got some new way of building cities that we don't know about, we can just make things regenerate from the rubble, then nah, I don't see Gaza being fixed in the next like 10 years.
Pretty early, but that's the basic idea. Take the areas where Hamas is not operating, start to rebuild very quickly, start to bring in the Gazans so that they can live there, so they can have good jobs, and hopefully some security and comfort too.
And any timeline on what very quickly means? Is that weeks, months?
Well, I think that we could actually have tens of thousands of Gazans moving into southern Gaza, where again you have the Hamas-free zone in the next couple of months, and then tens of thousands beyond that. I think the hope is to rebuild Rafah over the next 2 to 3 years, and theoretically you could have 500,000 people live in a rebuilt Rafah. But again, it's going to be sequencing. You're going to have first some people, and then more, and then hopefully in a couple years, 500,000 people living in security, living in comfort, and also living in a situation where they're not threatening their Israeli neighbors.
Was this your first time meeting with Netanyahu? Was this your first time meeting with Netanyahu one-on-one?
That's a good question. I have to think about that. No, I've met with Netanyahu. I've met with the Prime Minister one-on-one in Washington. Certainly the first time I've ever met with him one-on-one in Israel. But we had a good conversation.
And when was the last time that the U.S. spoke with Hamas? I know that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner had spoken with them directly when they were trying to get phase one over across the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, look, I actually don't know the answer to that question. We can always pick up the phone and call Hamas, at least through an intermediary, if we want to. But most of our communication has been with our Gulf Arab friends and, of course, with the Israelis about what this international security force is going to look like. That is not primarily a Hamas conversation. That's a conversation between us, the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Qataris, and other folks who are going to be involved.
And shout out to my man Galactic. He says Australian beef is the best quality. Conspiracy time. And shout out. All right, we're going to have to run a conspiracy hour, and the call-in line is open. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get it started. And let's go ahead and move on to the next video, because let's get into Kash Patel. We're going to get into Kash Patel, and then we're going to get into Pritzker, because both of them had Fox News interviews, and it was quite interesting. But let's get into Kash Patel first. Let's see what he got to say.
Here with me exclusively is FBI Director Kash Patel. He was also at that roundtable the president held this afternoon, which I couldn't stop watching. Director Patel, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We're going to get to this bust of this gambling ring in a moment, but Governor Pritzker and others are creating these apps and databases to track ICE agents. Is there any movement in the administration to pursue, prosecution or charges against individuals who are impeding law enforcement to that capacity?
Hey, Laura, it's great to be with you. And absolutely. And because of the power of President Trump and the team that he has built, not just in the public sector and the government sector, but the private sector, he and our attorney general have been able to go to these application companies and have these apps actually deleted and permanently removed. That's the immediate solution. But if these people continue to endanger the lives of law enforcement, you bet this FBI is going to chase every single one of them down. No one is allowed to touch a cop on my watch, and no one's going to touch a cop on our watch. And on the off chance that they do or participate in a scheme via an app or otherwise that does so, they will find themselves in handcuffs, just like so many of those that have tried to hurt law enforcement in the past. But now law enforcement is so well respected thanks to President Trump's leadership and the establishment of this Homeland Security Task Force.
And like I said this before, I'm slightly impressed by the fact that they were able to create an ICE tracking app. Like, I'm literally impressed with how they got that one off. And I'm happy that, Apple took the app off, which they should have been done. It was on there for months before they finally found it and took it off. And I was hearing about it since like the first week it came out. Like, it didn't make any sense that I'm like, hold on. So you're telling me there's an ICE tracking app on the App Store right now, and, law enforcement hasn't gotten to it yet? Now, of course, a month or two later, law enforcement finally gets to it. But it is crazy how it had a good like 2-3 month run.
The American people are seeing what cops can do when you let them be cops.
What do you think, Governor Pritzker?
And shout out Tove, because she's agreed. Yes, but it's expensive as fuck. Yes, it is. Whew, man. That's crazy. Australian beef. Well, makes sense. Y'all got y'all got all the animals over there in Australia. Okay, like I said, dangerous and delicious. I got it all over there.
Here. He's lying when he...
the poisonous and the venomous. The poisonous and the venomous.
He says that ICE is just indiscriminately picking up anyone who has brown skin or just because they look a certain way. That's not happening. But he repeats that over and over again, along with the Hitler and the Holocaust references and so forth. What do you think his goal here is ultimately? You've been watching this for years.
Politics. It's just politics. Having to spend most of my time in D.C., you see that people will make political pot shots and go on the fake news and try to drown out the facts, which you highlighted, some of the great work of this Homeland Security Task Force, because they have Trump derangement syndrome. They want clean streets. They want a safer America. They want our kids to be free from the savages of this criminality that has drowned our country these last 4 years. But they just don't want President Trump leading the charge to do it. And that's how superficial and shallow these guys are. But thankfully, the FBI doesn't work for Pritzker or any one of these other politicians. We work for the American people, and we're going to be on the streets like we've been on the streets in places like Memphis, in Virginia, and Chicago, and St. Louis, and so many other places, Dallas and New York, where we're getting the job done. Remember, this FBI has arrested 28,000 violent felons.
Oh yeah, calling link has been posted.
This year alone. That is double from the same time period last year. And that's just simply results from law enforcement, state and local, being led by this FBI to get after this problem.
Well, now we found out that former Chicago mayor, who would have thought that she would have come back, but Lori Lightfoot is teaming up with other attorneys to launch something called the ICE Accountability Project. Director, watch this.
We want to unmask the ICE agents, the CBP agents who are committing crimes in our city. We have an absolute right under our Constitution to be able to document what's happening. Every single one of those agents, height, weight, hair color. We have a right to compile that information and put together a profile. We believe that they are committing crimes and it needs to be investigated.
Director Patel, at a time when threats against agents is up like 1,000%, what can be done here with what they're launching?
The good news is they don't have any evidence of any crimes being committed by law enforcement. It's the same Pritzker grab bag of politics. They want to throw out these epithets and think they'll land with the American people, but they're not landing. The men and women in federal law enforcement and ICE and FBI and everywhere else, they are so supercharged by this administration's prioritization of law enforcement and backing the blue and giving them the funding and resources that they need that we are shutting down actual criminality. And the only thing that the Democrats and these crazy liberals have is this paper tiger, and they want to create a fake piñata to go after. But here's the thing, the American people aren't going to swing at that because they care about safety for their kids, their schools, their communities, and that's what President Trump's delivering.
Everyone I know in D.C. Who goes out regularly is so happy. I mean, they might, even if they don't like Trump, they just like what's happened in D.C. Ditto in Memphis, and it would continue if this was allowed. I mentioned this in the angle, Director Patel. U.S. forces continuing to strike these drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean and now in the East Pacific. So what is the FBI doing for its part to track those on U.S. soil who would have received those shipments, given the intel that I know we're learning from these?
We are taking them down. Just look at what we've done in these 7-8 short months that we've been in charge here. We've seized 1,900 kilograms of fentanyl, enough to kill 125 million Americans. We've seized something like 50,000 kilos of cocaine. That's just the FBI, not the task force.
But still haven't released, enough evidence to make the Dems comfortable, which I do admit is a bit. I mean, hey, I'm going off speculation. I believe that they can't really release the evidence of it because, how they're getting the evidence that these are narco boats and submersives from the CIA. I believe that's come from the CIA, and that's why we can't get the details on it. But other than that, I can see why it does concern a lot of Dems going like, well, why aren't we getting, more details on this? Like, what, are you just bombing boats in the middle of the sea? And of course not. They're getting, they're getting intel on it. And I mean, they're bombing it regardless. Well, not regardless of intel, but I'm pretty sure whatever intel they get on it, they're gonna bomb that ship. Just off the intel that, well, it's being provided either by the CIA, FBI, double agents in Venezuela, satellite technology. Who knows?
Force, not other agencies at the DOJ, just the FBI. We're working with the military and the Secretary of War and the intelligence communities to track and reverse engineer where these drugs are supposed to be and stopping them not only at the source, but the destination. And then we are arresting every single person in between that the Secretary of War doesn't annihilate in the open ocean to make sure that our communities are safe and free of this poison that is killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. We have been over this with our entire interagency partner working group, and it is being borne out in the meeting you saw today at the White House, the results.
Okay.
We've been covering all the out-of-control Antifa protests in places like Portland for months now. And we exposed this safe house last night that's just a 2-minute walk away from the ICE facility. Is the FBI looking into the funding of all of these kind of support groups and networks that are making this a constant disruption and threat to ICE possible?
I'm glad you asked that. One of the cornerstones of my leadership at the FBI has been simple. Follow the money, not just for narco-terrorism, not just for international terrorism, not
That's
just for human
Antifa, all right. You better
traffickers,
whoop your
but
ass.
follow the money for everything. And
That's
what we've done
Antifa.
is built out an enterprise network investigation.
When they look all nerdy like this and one of them come out mask up, that's Antifa.
Using law enforcement.
Nerdy and violent.
And local and search
Crazy
warrants to go out and
combination.
trace who's funding these people, because it doesn't happen automatically and overnight. It is organized, and we are going to start charging and arresting people who funded these Antifa groups and other groups like Antifa because they are domestic terrorists, and we will treat anyone who participates in that scheme as such.
And Director, I want to turn to this massive mafia-linked NBA gambling ring. That was so out of pocket. Like, it surprised me today. You announced it today, 2 operations, Nothing But Net and Royal Flush. They were called.
I mean, I don't know. I don't like hearing about this because I just seen it coming. I kind of knew that players were doing this already. Actually, since day one of sports drafting, like I don't say it since sports betting being legalized in not other countries, but in other states. I foreseen this. I was like, yeah, it's about to get bad. Like, there's actually going to be players throwing games. You're never going to be able to trust results ever again. Honestly, who knows if who's going to win the playoffs isn't already decided by now. Like, who knows? Who knows at this point? Because why? There's betting involved. Now we don't even know. For all you know, like the who wins the playoff decides on, I guess, who has more bets against them. Like, man, we damn near took the integrity out of sports, guys. We damn near took it out of there. Man. But all right, guys, let's go get into Pritzker and let's see what he's saying. Because he says Trump is obsessed with him. Obsessed with him. I mean, all right.
Across the board, President Trump and the federal government have dodged accountability and dismantled the institutions responsible for checking that corruption and overreach that they're committing.
I have this guy Pritzker is a very weak governor. Let me be nice. I'm going to be very nice. He's extremely weak. He's pathetic.
There he is.
I have Pritzker get up and say how great they're doing in Chicago. They're doing very poorly.
All right, let's talk about crime, immigration, politics with Democratic Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. Governor, thanks for being here.
Great to be here,
Any reaction to President Trump there? That was just an hour ago.
It seems like I live, rent-free in his head. He talks about me all the time, just spontaneously. And all I can say is that we're having to deal with the invasion of his ICE agents, his CBP agents, and potentially of federalized National Guard who don't know anything about law enforcement. We could use help. By the way, I'd love to get help with law enforcement, FBI, ATF, DEA. We want to get gangs and guns and drugs off the streets. And we've asked for that kind of help. But instead, he's talking about sending troops. Why? Why?
Well, you have this effort to track ICE. The Illinois Accountability Commission announced today to create this public record of federal law enforcement agents, determines how to collect testimony, hold hearings, interview individuals, record what could be used to pursue justice and accountability on them, right?
Yes.
So what do you say to the people who look at that and say, ICE is taking bad guys off the streets of Chicago?
Listen, it's great. Go get Tren de Aragua. That's not what happened. Remember, they attacked a building with 130 people in it, and they got a couple of gang members. That's what you ought to do, by the way. Go after them, not the 130 people. Instead, they took everybody out of the building. They zip-tied the kids. They took some of the seniors and put them into U-Hauls for hours. And many of them U.S. citizens legally in this country, others. And
yeah, that's what happened at a crime scene. It's like you getting pulled over in a car. Let's say you're driving with your friend, you get pulled over in a car, and your friend's got, like, I don't know, bricks of cocaine in the back. Now, you know what's going to happen after that, right? The cops aren't just going to let you go because they know it's not your car. No, at this point, you're at a crime scene, and they're trying to figure out where all this cocaine came from. So guess what? You're going to get detained. You're going to go down to the station. You're going to get held for about 24 to 72 hours while they ask you questions. And that's just how, honestly, policing works. That's just how investigations work. And the crazy thing is how Dems are trying to spin this into U.S. citizens getting kidnapped when it's a U.S. citizen just getting detained for being at a crime scene.
They instead detained, I mean, literally dozens and dozens of people for hours. That is not the way you do law enforcement.
But do you believe any illegal immigrant charged with or convicted of a felony should be deported?
I think they ought to take the violent criminals and get them out of my state and get them out of the country. I absolutely believe that, but that's not what they're doing. They said they were going after the worst.
You don't help them because you're a sanctuary state, right?
No, we do. If you bring us a judicial warrant, we will bring you all kinds of help on the ground to go get the bad guys. That's what we want. We want the bad guys off the streets. What we don't want is for people to get racially profiled. That's what's happening right now.
Earlier this year, Chicago police charged 2 illegal aliens with felony murder in the killing of a 63-year-old man who was found tied up in his home. They were from Ecuador and Venezuela. Both were caught and released at the Texas border by the Biden administration in 2023. One of the suspects was in custody, had been arrested in Chicago on January 12th for trying to lure children, but was released into the community with ICE's detainer request ignored due to sanctuary policy. Like, when somebody looks at that and says, that can't be a good thing.
Brett, every person that gets held, every person that for probable cause, with due process, every person has a trial or has a hearing, and it gets determined whether or not they should be held in a jail cell or whether they get bail, right? Those things have happened all over the country. And I can tell you, at least in Chicago and in Illinois, when someone is determined to be a danger to the community, they are held. That's how it works. Now, did a judge make a bad decision? Maybe so. But to pick out the situation of one immigrant, I bet you could find U.S. citizens all across the country who committed a crime who also get out and then they do something bad.
You were in an interview and you...
Yeah, but they're supposed to be here, though. And the other one's not supposed to be here. So any crime they do is a shame because they weren't supposed to be here in the first place, a.k.a. that crime would have never happened if they weren't here breaking the law. If an American does it, well, they were supposed to be here, so it is what it is.
Called ICE agents and looking like they're acting like Nazis after the Holocaust. Take a listen.
What I'm saying is that this is how authoritarian regimes do it. They create these kind of fake ideas that there's an enemy out there and it could be sitting next to you at one of these tables.
This kind of language, fascism, Nazism, it's permission. We went to war to destroy the Nazis, to overcome fascism. It's permission. It's a slippery slope to violence, and it's unacceptable. And it's pervasive on the left. We saw that pre-Charlie Kirk. We saw it post-Charlie Kirk's terrible assassination, and it needs to stop, and the Democrats are guilty of not standing up against it.
How do you respond to Senator McCormick?
What I can tell you is that Alberto Pinochet was an authoritarian. There are lots of authoritarians that I could point to. It happens that I know best because I helped build a Holocaust museum sitting next to Holocaust survivors about what the Nazis did in those early years.
No, I understand that.
I'm not talking about the Holocaust. I'm talking about what they were doing, taking away people's rights, arresting people, asking them for papers. Early on in an authoritarian regime, wherever it is in the world throughout history, this is what happens. It's the beginning of something very bad for a country, especially a constitutional republic.
To his point, in this environment, you're demonizing ICE agents. If some ICE agent gets killed, and we just saw an assassination attempt down in Dallas, isn't that not something that we should be really talking about like that?
The thing that we're demonizing is when ICE agents aren't following protocols. They aren't.
No, they are following protocols. You just don't like it, and you're lying. I mean, this is the disgusting type of lie because it's honestly, you can easily prove this wrong. One, if these guys are getting locked up, and if these, well, not locked up, but if these U.S. citizens are getting detained for 72 hours, it's all good. You can't sit there and complain just because a U.S. citizen got detained during a crime scene. Just like when they came down and busted on that apartment complex full of illegals, yes, everybody in there is part of it now. Everybody in there, they don't know if they're a collaborator. I mean, they don't know if they're the guy who smuggled them in. So everybody's getting arrested. Everybody's going to get detained until proven innocent. And usually you got 72 hours to do so if you're the police, or you got to release them. And that's just the way it works. So I'm sorry if that upsets you guys, but that's just the way investigations work.
Acting like law enforcement should act. They're instead literally racially profiling. We've seen it. All you have to do is go online and look at some of the videos. Just to be clear, because I think many people that are listening maybe haven't seen that before.
I mean, it's not really racially profiling if just majority of the illegals just happen to be, well, Latin Americans. Happen to be Hispanic. It is what it is, bro. Like, you can't, like, look, we're gonna deport them even if majority of them are Hispanic. Like, it is what it is. Like, they're here illegally. I don't care what color they are. If they're here illegally, they gotta go.
Painting with a broad brush of all the ICE agents that are doing their job.
No, we're saying that if you're an ICE agent and you do these things, we think you ought to be held accountable. And yet no one in Washington, no one above them, no supervisor, no inspector general is holding anybody accountable. There literally haven't been any suspensions or firings for the terrible things that they've done, literally grabbing people, tackling them when they're U.S. citizens and have done zero wrong.
You've referred to ICE as Kristi Noem's thugs. Would you be willing to do a ride along with ICE in Chicago to get a better understanding about what they do and what they deal with?
I can see what they do on the streets of Chicago. And
are there any ICE agents that are good? Any ICE agents that are good?
Of course. The problem is who's holding the bad ones accountable? Because the bad ones, frankly, are the ones that we're seeing all the time. And then you have Bovino.
No, those are the guys there is no bad ICE agents. You guys just film these guys and you start yelling at them. And then you assume that they're bad because they're arresting somebody that, well, I guess that you don't want to be arrested. Like that one white lady, the fat white lady that got arrested for throwing something at ICE. But they didn't film that. They just filmed the part where she was getting arrested. So what bad ICE agents? Like I'm pretty sure there are some, but hey, the examples you guys are showing us, those aren't examples. Those aren't good examples.
On Fox News saying, oh, they're very professional. They're doing everything by the book.
Why does Chicago have the highest murder rate of all the big cities?
Well, we are not in the top 30 in terms of our murder rate. Indeed, our murder rate it has been cut in half over the last 4 years, and every year it's gone down by double digits. And if you look at all of the violent crime over the last 4 years,
here's a map.
They've all gone.
Damn, murder rate in most populous U.S. cities based on 100,000 population. 17? Dang. I mean, come on, Chicago. Come on, bro. Like, Pritzker, you really gonna sit there and lie? I mean, Los Angeles not even that bad. I mean, Houston, like, come on, y'all beat Houston and Dallas. Y'all beat the hoods of Houston and Dallas. Y'all beat the hood of Philadelphia. Like, that's really tell you something. See how blind they are? They really just don't want to admit that they suck at running, highly populated cities.
U.S. cities, 17.47 per 100,000 population. Chicago is number one over Philadelphia, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Phoenix, Los Angeles, New York, and San Diego.
Yep. What I'm explaining to you is
you're
when
talking
you want
about
to fight
violent
crime. Look, you can pull statistics up.
No, these are murders.
I'm explaining to you that our murder rate has been cut in half. And very importantly, Brett, you got to hear this.
What about the murder rate in Chicago? Because if you're talking about all of Illinois, I mean, sure, but what about Chicago specifically, like the city of concern?
Importantly, we've been doing the things that are necessary to bring crime down, right? We've invested in community violence interruption. We've invested in police. I've added more state police than any governor in quite a long time. It's very important that we do both of those things and more to invest in our communities so that we bring crime down. We're doing that. You know who's doing the opposite? Donald Trump. That's not what we need.
If you hear from your constituents, your residents, and they say, ask for help. If help is being offered, ask for help.
I have. And I do. And I regularly say, you've heard me, anybody that's listened to me has heard me say, and I believe this is absolutely necessary. Bring us FBI. We want to go after the gang members. Bring us DEA. We'd like to get more drugs off the streets. Fentanyl is killing too many people in Illinois. I want to point out, by the way, in the state of Illinois, we are 19th safest. I'd like to be number 1 or number 2 safest. 19th safest, not 50th, not 45th, 19th. We're doing a good job of addressing crime and bringing it down steadily, doing the job but it's not going to get brought down by bringing soldiers onto the streets of American
I want to talk
cities.
some politics. We talked about the environment and how people are talking.
And you see how he's talking. He's not really going to talk about Chicago. He's going to talk about Illinois as a whole, because what's going on in Chicago is inexcusable and you can't defend it.
Everybody points to, he's apologizing.
Attorney General nominee Jay Jones drop out of the race over those texts that have been the focus of this race.
Yeah, I think that the text that I think everybody points to, he's apologized about that.
Wow. If that was, bro, this is what kills me about these guys. If that was a Republican who wished death on a Democrat's children, bro, we would ask that man to step down. Actually, a Republican stepped down over that young Republican text thread. A lawmaker, well, not a lawmaker, but an elected official stepped down over that. And he was a Republican. So if we can make a guy step down over texting Indian stink, then why can't we get Dems? Why can't you get Jay Jones to step down for wishing death on children? I mean, make that make sense.
Not going to get brought down by bringing soldiers onto the streets of American
I want to talk
cities.
some politics. We talked about the environment and how people are talking. Should the Virginia Attorney General nominee Jay Jones drop out of the race over those texts that have been the focus of this race?
Yeah, I think that the text that
And I appreciate you texting that, because Jackson, Mississippi is ran by a black Democrat. St. Louis, Democrat. New Orleans, Democrat. Birmingham, most likely ran by a Democrat. I mean, if those are all high crime cities, yes. With the biggest murder rates, those are all ran by Democrats. Black ones at that. And you know what? I'm willing to go there with you and prove it too. That's the effed up part. It's going to hurt my feelings and yours, Galactic. How bad? Well, these Democrats run these cities, because Jackson, Mississippi ran by nothing but Democrats. St. Louis, Democrat. New Orleans, Democrat for sure. Birmingham is the one I'm not too sure about, but I'm going to assume that it's mainly Democrats. I'm just going to assume. Why? I don't know. Just cuz. Wait, I was right, because it is mainly Democrats, black Democrats. And I'd say this, bro, the embarrassing formula that I came up with: black Democrat, minority dominant city equals a high crime, high drug use city, and high homelessness. It all goes into it. You just need yourself a black Democrat, a whole lot of black people and Hispanics, and then you're going to go ahead and have you a high drug use, high homelessness, and high crime city. It's such a simple formula, but it's embarrassing because it involves a black Democrat every single time. It is a bit annoying, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
I think everybody points to, he's apologized about that. People make mistakes. They do.
So he shouldn't drop out.
It's one thing if someone's doing it repeatedly, right? If you're making comments repeatedly that are, like that no doubt that was an offensive thing to write.
You've donated $20,000 to Jay Jones' campaign.
Yeah, that was before anybody saw the text, but it doesn't matter. The point is, if he wasn't apologizing about it, if he didn't feel bad, and if he...
Bro, it's not about this man apologizing. Like, bro, you guys wanted us to make a man step down over saying Indian stink. We can't... You're telling me y'all won't make a man step down over wishing death on children? Like, y'all cannot say you condemn political violence no more. I can no longer hear that from a Dem until Jay Jones stepped down.
Yeah, that was before anybody saw the text, but it doesn't matter. The point is, if he wasn't apologizing about it, if he didn't feel bad, and if he hadn't stood up and said, this is not how I really feel. I think everybody says, things along the way, particularly in politics,
Bro, dog, I've said some wild things in text, but I've never in my life wished death on somebody's children. Never in my life. I could say that confidently. Never in my life where I thought it was okay to wish death on somebody's children. Like, dog, that takes a whole new level of evil and darkness that I don't even want to get to. I don't know what's going on in Jay Jones' life, but the fact that he was even able to type that out is heavily concerning.
When you're getting attacked.
And this man just smiling about it, as if it's cool, as if he didn't just wish death on children. And this man just go like, man, come on, man. He said he's sorry, bro. It's all he was playing. Come on, man. You know you've said some wild things before. Yeah, I have. But I never wished death on children.
That you probably shouldn't have said.
Has the Democratic Party become too extreme? Do you think that the focus of your party is on the far left? Have you endorsed Zohran Mamdani in New York, for example?
The focus of our party is not on the far left. The focus on our party is standing up for Americans' constitutional rights. That's what I believe. That's what most Democrats believe. I believe that Zohran Mamdani won his election because he talked about one very vital issue to the American public, and that's affordability. And that's what we all ought to be talking about. But, you know, unfortunately, Donald Trump every day is attacking our American cities. We've got to stand up for democracy. But we've also got to, talk about, and I have done this, eliminating the grocery tax in the state of Illinois, making sure we're bringing down taxes for small businesses. So these are all things that I think really matter to folks at the kitchen table every single day.
You say standing up for the democracy. Here's what you told Stephen A. Smith.
So you're saying that the president of the United States is going to try to steal an election? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, this is a guy who tried to steal the election back in 2020, and he would do it again. Yeah, I think he's
they ain't backing down on that, bro.
There are many Democrats who pointed to Donald Trump before the 24 election, saying he was challenging the integrity of the election by saying almost exactly what you're saying about him now. Why do you think he's going to steal the election?
What I'm telling you is you can just look back in his own history, that back to 2020, after the election, when he claimed fraud, he claimed it had been stolen from him. And he and Michael Flynn discussed, and Michael Flynn very publicly talked about, maybe we should use troops and go in and seize the ballot boxes and count the votes. You don't think Donald Trump heard that and thought maybe that's a good idea? And here we are. He's sending troops onto the streets of American cities, into blue states, in blue cities, and he wants to...
Wrong, because he sent it to Memphis, and Memphis is a blue city, but it's in a red state. He's talking about New Orleans next, which is a blue city within a red state. So, nope, wrong again, my friend. For some reason, y'all just hate when Trump clean up crime. And shout out Tove, if Jay was a Republican, they would have called for his arrest and unaliving. Facts. Shoot, I ain't gonna lie, I would call for this man's arrest. Impossible unaliving, because I don't like anybody that can sit there and literally text. I'm gonna be real with you. Somebody who can literally sit there and think it's okay to wish death on children. It's like that was the wildest part about it. I'm like, look, I understand having some out there joke, maybe comparing the man to a fascist, but sitting there saying that him and his wife deserve to die, and so does his children, is crazy. And then this man can't even sit there and just say, yeah, bro, Jay Jones should resign. This over here is going like, come on, well, he said it like in 2022. Is it really that serious? Yes, it's that serious. Because if it was a MAGA supporter, if it was a Trump supporter or a Republican, you guys would be asking for that man's head on a stick. And we would agree with you.
He's calling it about crime,
and you don't
but
think
that's
by
not
saying
at all what it's
this now that you are somehow challenging the integrity of the next election?
No, he is challenging the integrity of the next election, but yes, he is challenging the integrity of the next election by sending troops into our cities.
What?
That's what I believe this is about. It isn't about fighting crime. He said he's going after the worst of the worst. That is not what they're doing. They are literally going after black and brown people because of the color of their skin.
The worst of the worst. If ICE is getting the worst of the worst off the streets, is that a good thing?
Yes, anybody that they get that is worst of the worst is a good thing, of course. But you remember, they're bragging about the fact that, 60% of the people that they're stopping have done something wrong. 40% are being held, detained. These are U.S. citizens, people legally in this country.
The economy, Illinois, property tax, most recent was 23, but it's the highest in the U.S. Gas tax, second highest.
They don't
Corporate
care.
tax, third highest. Sales tax is down to 13. Do businesses want to stay in Illinois, and do you think that the Illinois economy is doing well?
Let me say this. When I took office from a Republican governor, everything was going the wrong direction, exactly what you're talking about, right? So when I took office, we had to address all of these things. So we're moving in the right direction. And indeed, we've attracted more businesses to the state of Illinois. We have more people employed in the state of Illinois than ever before. Things are going the right direction. I can't solve all the problems at once, that's for sure. I can tell you that with regard to property taxes, the biggest problem is...
I mean, notice how he talks about Illinois and not talk about the problem in Chicago. And I mean, let's be real. I mean, look, you got red districts out there holding your crime rate down. So you might want to thank your conservatives.
Most of your property tax bill comes from paying for schools.
Two more things. What's the best thing that President Trump has done since being in office?
Nothing.
Well, that's a good question. I think, look, one thing I can say is that I asked President Biden and wrote a very public letter to deal with some of the problems at the border. We were seeing, tens of thousands of people being sent by Governor Abbott to Chicago, and we weren't getting any help really from the federal government. Here's what I would say. Since President Trump has taken office, we don't have the problem that existed before with people coming across the border. What I would suggest, though, is there's one more thing he could have done. He took control of the Congress. He's got control of the judiciary. He's got control of the White House. He could
argue that the judiciary pushes back all the time, but go ahead.
The Supreme Court. Let's just say this. He could have proposed comprehensive immigration reform and gotten it passed. He could have done that. He hasn't done that. Why? Why does he want to send troops in? Why does he want to send ICE and CBP in? Why not get immigration reform in place that we can all rally around? Look, I like that we have borders.
Because if it was up to y'all would let every illegal stay. So I'm sorry, but no, we can't trust people who honestly don't even want to uphold the immigration law now. So whatever new parameters we set, what makes you think we believe y'all to follow them? You won't even follow the ones now. You won't even follow immigration law now, but you want us to trust you to make reforms? Like, come on now, dog. That don't even make sense.
Right? You don't have a country if you don't have borders. But let's deal with immigration with an actual bill that Democrats and Republicans can rally around. We've seen it before. It's been done before, but it's been 40 years. Let's finally do it.
Are you considering running for president?
I'm running for re-election as governor. I appreciate the question. I'm always flattered by that question, but honestly, I love the state of Illinois. I'm going to do whatever's best for the state of Illinois.
Last thing, the dealer has a 2. You have a 16.
That's the debate everywhere. No, I mean,
Were you proud or embarrassed of announcing 1.4 million of
neither one. It was just I did what anybody would do if you're telling the truth, right? You pay your taxes. I got really lucky. That's what happened. It's like somebody who won the lottery. You get really lucky. You're going to pay your taxes on it.
Governor, we appreciate you coming by and taking tough questions and answering them. We'd like to have you back.
Thank you. Good to see you, Brett.
Appreciate it.
I mean, yeah, he took tough questions, but I mean, Brett, he's a nice guy. He did not push too hard back on him. So I'll give him that. All right, here, let's go ahead to the next video. Keeping it on the right side of media. Let's get right into it.
On the government shutdown by the time you return from your trip to
Crap. Actually, you know what? We actually do got to start conspiracy hour. But I'll go ahead and get that started while this video plays out.
Have it resolved by the time I resume? I don't know. I said long ago we shouldn't have been in this problem. This was September 28th. They came due in Biden's regime, and before the election, September 28th, and they pushed it off into the future. And I was running when they did that. And when you're running, but I did say, what the hell are they doing? That and debt ceiling. They also pushed the debt ceiling past the election date. So that would mean the next president has it. But I did say that I think the Democrats have gone totally crazy. And you don't know what they're going to do because they don't care about the people. They don't. I really think they have no leadership. They have a lot of very low IQ people. Jasmine Crockett is a low IQ person. A lot of them are. I don't want to insult too many of them, but a lot of them are. They have no rudder. I don't think they know what they're doing right now. They've never done this before. They always agreed to go and, called an extension. Let's do an extension and talk. Even today, look at what happened today. They don't want to pay the people that have worked. And, this was supposed to be this was a test. and they wouldn't pay the people that have been working. They said, no, we don't want to pay them. This is all the Democrats. Now, all we need is 5 Democrats. And I know a lot of Democrats that are saying they're more than 5, probably not that many more than 5, but they're more than 5. And all we need is like 5 Democrat votes so we open our country again. Sad, though, we have the greatest economy in our history. We have the highest stock market. All these things are rocking. We will have by the end of my first year more than $20 trillion of investment. The all-time record is $3 trillion. I think it's China. We're going to have $20 or $21 trillion. We've never had anything like it coming in because of tariffs. The money pouring into our country, the plants that are opening, AI, automobiles, everything. And the Democrats want to close our country. They're really, they say deranged. They are. They suffer. I guess it's Trump derangement syndrome, which I think is going down now as an official condition by the doctors. I think they get paid extra money if they handle it because it's more difficult to handle than a normal mental disease. But you know what? They really should approve an extension, get the country back to work, get the people paid. And, it's very simple. You just don't know what's going on. There's something wrong with them. It's sad, actually.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here.
And all right, now we're going to go ahead and get over to, let's see here, Conspiracy Hour with, where is it at? There it is. Jeffrey Epstein hit list, examining the 22 mysterious deaths. All right, let's get right into it. Viewer discretion advised, of course. Whoops. Almost messed it up there. There we go. There we go. All right, guys, let's not forget to double tap that screen. If you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, send it in with a super chat, $2 and up. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into Conspiracy Hour.
1 death is weird, 2 deaths is suspicious, but 22 deaths linked to 1 criminal. That, my friends, is a massive cover-up in action. For years now, I've been talking about Jeffrey Epstein and the sordid Epstein scandal. And obviously this year we've seen the cover-up playing out in real time. You've been able to watch it happen right before your very eyes. It's a story that has fully engulfed our political climate, enveloped the current President Trump in a dark web of disturbing allegations, and exposed an international blackmail intelligence gathering operation that children to be used as pawns in a sickening power game. But as you know, when it comes to world governments, when a story needs to be covered up, well, that's when people start to, as they say, a lot of people on this list earned the highest award, the most esteemed award when it comes to investigative journalism, a bullet. And when it comes to the Epstein story, there have been a number of extremely suspicious, incredibly strange, perfectly timed deaths connected to the case, film producers who died, victims who other perpetrators who died in the exact same manner as Epstein. Yeah, the list goes on. And we're going to do a deep dive on that list today. As everybody knows already, I don't want to go anywhere or do anything to myself. All parties are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. All opinions presented on today's show are solely mine. And if you want to check out where I got the information to make this video, please do investigate the resources document in the description for yourself. Without further ado, welcome to the Conspiracy Files. So everybody knows the Epstein stories, so for now we're gonna skip doing a deep dive on that, but as a quick recap, everybody knows Jeffrey Epstein is...
And shout out Toe said, look into the cardiac medicine that, well, let's see, that they put Trump on when he does not need them. Strong meds that have a history of messing with your cognitive ability. Yeah. Oh, wow, really? Huh. I mean, if they're trying to set Trump up like that, then there really isn't too much he can do. If they're willing to if we're willing to give that man the wrong medicine, it's almost over for him. Unless, somebody can intervene in time. I hope that's not happening. I really do. That would be a terrible way to take advantage of the man.
The man accused of minors to the world elite. Princes, CEOs, finance gurus, scientists, entertainment moguls, Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, his accomplice, their web of evil touched every single industry. And as we all know, Epstein ostensibly self-deleted in 2019. Now, we all know that he was killed. Some people even theorize that he's still alive. I mean, I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence. I haven't done enough deep diving into that specific topic, but since everybody already knows the details of Epstein's death itself, you know, the details, cameras turned off, guards that were asleep, lots of suspicious pieces of evidence, things that were missing, people that didn't do the jobs they needed to do, including more recent evidence like that video that the Justice Department, the FBI, I can't remember who, released a few months ago that was edited. They said this is the uncut, unedited video of Epstein's cell block the night that he, you know, died, and it was edited. It was actually edited. They proved that somebody had edited it. But you all know that. If you want to hear more information about the suspicious things surrounding Epstein's death, I highly recommend you watch the very first video on this channel, The Murder of Jeffrey Epstein, where I spelled all of those facts out very plainly and clearly. So I guess you could count Epstein as the first death connected to the scandal, even though it was his own death. But for the real first death...
And shout out To, she says, they said his heart is 15 years younger than his bio age. Yeah, I have heard of that. I mean, what was it? It was when, well, I'm not going to explain the entire scene of when I found this out, but let's say I was watching an episode of the Kardashians and the mom was getting her, what was it? It was like her bio age. So she's actually 64, but her bio age, due to how well she takes care of herself and how well she eats, is like, what, 50 something. So she's 60 something, but her inside her body, though, is running like a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, which is pretty impressive. And let's be real, if you take care of yourself, you can be that way too. But yes, but she says, so why have him on any cardiac medication? Cardiologists have been told to stop acting. Let's see here. I mean, I am looking into it. Let's see. Cardiac related meds are to lower cholesterol, reduce cholesterol. Okay, so I'm looking it up right now. I'm seeing the medications
that I want to examine today. We need to talk about one of Epstein's best friends, one of his partners in crime, and one of the biggest creeps that I've ever read about. And we also need to talk about how he died in a similar place at a very similar time with precisely the same method of execution. Death number 1, Jean-Luc Brunel, the model manager who molded his own end. Jean-Luc Brunel is an infamous name in the worlds of modeling and fashion, not only due to his disgusting personal actions and crimes against children, but also, of course, due to his close connection and proximity to Jeffrey Epstein. Jean-Luc Brunel's life slithered through the gutters of France directly into the glitzy veins of high fashion like a viper in velvet. Born in 1946 in Paris to a family of restaurateurs, Jean-Luc, at a young age, catapulted from amateur photographer to kingpin of the modeling world after founding the infamous S.E.T modeling agency in 1988, a modeling agency that would go on to provide models across the world for fashion and runway work, and would also provide underaged models to darker individuals, if you want to phrase it like that. Jean-Luc Brunel frequently spent his time scouting waifish teens on the streets of Europe and funneling them straight into the maw of New York's cutthroat fashion runway scene with a predatory eye that seemed to prioritize vulnerability over vitality. In other words, Jean-Luc Brunel, under the auspices of recruiting for his modeling agency, was in actuality searching for his next potential victim. In his earlier days working in the fashion industry, Jean-Luc photographed models for magazine covers, and his work was even featured on the front of publications like Elle and Vogue. However, even back then, as far back as the 1970s, Jean-Luc was already infamous within the industry for holding auditions that devolved into sessions in his apartment. Word spread throughout the industry pretty quickly that Jean-Luc was a predatory creep, which earned him rebukes from peers like John Casablancas, yet his Rolodex of famous names and clients, like Ralph Lauren and Elite Model Management, served to shield him from controversy. And every time that it seemed like Jean-Luc was about to get into trouble for messing around with kids, something would happen. Evidence or victims would disappear, stories would stop spreading, victims were scared into silence. And this allowed Jean-Luc to enjoy a career that spanned decades, a career that consisted of exploiting teenage girls' dreams of working in the fashion world for their flesh. From an objective perspective, Jean-Luc's personal saga was one of unchecked hedonism, debauchery, and of course, Jean-Luc was married 3 times in his life and was a father to a son he barely knew. He flitted between Paris lofts and Miami condos, his charm a thin veneer that barely masked his inner desires, and deeply sadistic tendencies. Jean-Luc ended up becoming pretty infamous in the modeling and fashion worlds as models around the world began whispering of Le Wolf, the predator who lured them into his world with promises of Chanel contracts, only to demand nude tests and naked auditions in private rooms and on couches and beds. Jean-Luc, though, had some pretty powerful connections. As he worked his way up through the fashion and modeling industries, he began to hobnob with the jet set, yachting with Saudi princes and taking advantage physically and mentally of budding starlets. But his true thrill lay in the power imbalance. Jean-Luc himself collected Polaroids of topless underage hopefuls like baseball cards, his modeling agency serving really only as a conveyor belt for the industry's underbelly, where eating disorders and were viewed back then as necessary but unavoidable occupational hazards. By the 1990s, however, Jean-Luc's empire began to crumble. It was during that time period when allegations surfaced stemming from a 1975 incident where he had a 15-year-old girl. Sadly, back then in 1975, the criminal case against Jean-Luc was dismissed for a lack of evidence. This should have been the end of Jean-Luc's career way back then, but he rebounded and subsequently launched a new agency, Karen Models, and re-entered the modeling and fashion worlds, even with his disturbing, well-known past. Jean-Luc took advantage of any young woman or child he could get his hands on, from anonymous runaways to the famous, like Carla Bruni, whom he claimed to have discovered at 19. In the fashion world's morose irony, Jean-Luc was both a creator and a destroyer, molding beauty from clay only to shatter it in private. His personal autobiography, a whitewashed tribute to his passion that omitted the handcuffs and the tears and crimes against children. But all the while, throughout all of these trials and tribulations, Jean-Luc was working with an even bigger, darker super predator. As we all know by now, that was Jeffrey Epstein. Jean-Luc's entanglement with Epstein was a marriage made on hell's casting couch. The two were introduced in the late 1980s through mutual French connections, and quickly, Jean-Luc became one of Epstein's premier underage girl suppliers. Essentially, Jean-Luc scouted for young talent that Epstein would then go on to use in his and blackmail gathering operation. Soon enough, Jean-Luc was jetting girls as young as 12 years old from Paris to Palm Beach on Epstein's dime, with flight logs showing over time many different MC2 recruits that were taken to Miami, to Florida, to Little St. James or Epstein Island for photo shoots that masked what some have described as being. For example, victim Virginia Gouffre alleged that Jean-Luc Brunel her 3 times at Epstein's New York townhouse in the year 2001, with his test this time involving forced fellatio while Epstein watched from a closet camera. Interestingly, Epstein and Jean-Luc's partnership actually formalized and became official in 2005 when Epstein helped to finance Jean-Luc's modeling agency, MC2's Miami branch, with a $1 million investment, which on paper was an investment for, quote, talent development, but in reality was nothing more than a front for. French authorities, after receiving a tip about Jean-Luc, later discovered a vast network of allegations that had been sitting right under the surface for decades and brought Jean-Luc's personal victim count to at least 54 models. It was also found that Jean-Luc Brunel had been supplying Epstein with young, underage girls who would perform massages on clients in exchange for access to Epstein's elite black book, his powerful contacts, his glitzy lifestyle, money. There were a lot of different reasons. Jean-Luc himself would even, throughout the time he was working with Epstein, rubbed shoulders with the elite, including times he traveled and hung out with aides for the Clintons, Hollywood moguls, and other notable figures. Virginia Gouffre's 2015 deposition detailed Jean-Luc's octopus hands her during a flight diversion to his Paris flat, while another victim, Jane Doe number 3, claimed Jean-Luc at 16 years old in a casting session that Epstein himself set up. Upon looking at all of this, the duo's synergy was evident to authorities, and disturbingly, they eventually recovered photos of bound teenagers in compromising positions that had secretly been stored in Brunel's freezer, labeled for Epstein's collection. Even after Epstein's 2008 guilty plea to essentially with a minor, Brunel continued to visit Epstein, and later photos emerged that captured them toasting drinks with who we can assume were underage girls. And when the feds raided Epstein's residence in 2019, authorities recovered files from Jean-Luc's agency MC2, revealing payments to recruits that were as young as 14 years old. In Epstein's web of lies and you see, Jean-Luc Brunel was not just a sidekick or a side character, but rather a full-on co-conspirator, his modeling agency serving as a pipeline of underage girls for Epstein. And according to some reporting, the girls that Jean-Luc Brunel provided to Epstein were sometimes used to gather those blackmail tapes that allegedly captured United States politicians and powerful figures from all sorts of industries, children. But interestingly, it's been claimed that there are also French politicians on those tapes as well. Epstein and Jean-Luc were partners in crime, incredibly close, and Jean-Luc played a massive role in Epstein's overall operation. And so naturally, when on February 19th, 2022, Jean-Luc Brunel was found from a paisley scarf in his La Santé prison cell in Paris, naturally, some eyebrows were raised. Jean-Luc, you see, had been arrested at Paris's Charles de Gaulle airport in December 2020, as he was trying to board a flight to Senegal. His arrest, a part of a French inquiry into allegations against Epstein, focusing on potential crimes committed against French victims and suspects who were French citizens. Prosecutors suspected Jean-Luc of multiple minors and adults. They also suspected him of transporting and housing young girls for Epstein. On February 19th, 2022, about a year after he was arrested, the 75-year-old Jean-Luc's body was found in his prison cell, like a discarded mannequin. His face cyanotic from the noose knotted with precision. Later on, court documents that were released surrounding Jean-Luc's case dripped with graphic horrors, like details about penetration with foreign objects and group violations in hotel suites. And we hear a very similar story to Epstein here. Jean-Luc, you see, was removed from shortly before he was found dead, despite prior alleged attempts to self-delete, including an incident that was documented to have happened prior in 2020. But this move found Jean-Luc Brunel housed alone in a high-security wing. In addition, after Jean-Luc was found dead, the guards that were on duty that night claimed that their routine checks somehow missed the early morning act of self-deletion. Somehow, even though Jean-Luc was essentially their only prisoner to watch over, they didn't notice what he was doing in his cell. It's a very familiar story. And also, it's just like my thoughts with Epstein. Jean-Luc is a very, very, very high-profile criminal that you're housing, and nobody's paying attention to him. It's the same shit with Epstein. Like, Jean-Luc's probably one of the most infamous criminals, if not the most infamous criminal at the time in all of France. Same with Epstein, you know, after he was arrested, and yet no one's watching over them. It's just crazy. Also, as with Epstein himself, on that fateful evening/early morning, some of the cameras malfunctioned in the cell block area that Jean-Luc Brunel was held in, which prevented people from ever truly seeing if anyone else had entered or exited the area that day. Now, unlike Epstein, Jean-Luc's hyoid bone was found intact. If it were broken, that would almost be a surefire sign of strangulation, but the ligature furrows and marks on his neck were deep and diagonal, which fueled pathologists who examined his body and the photos to suggest that Jean-Luc may have been killed and then his body staged. French Justice Minister Eric Dupond-Moretti called it tragic, but a lawyer representing some of Jean-Luc and Epstein's victims, Arlene Dehaene, fumed. This is not justice, it's erasure. Jean-Luc's death occurred just months before his trial, potentially derailing testimony that could implicate high-profile figures like Prince Andrew, whom he allegedly supplied girls to. Victim Tissia Huysman, who accused Jean-Luc of her at age 16, dismissed this theory of self-deletion outright, saying, quote, "I don't believe it, it's like what happened to Epstein. It's too convenient," end quote. Also, accusers had described Jean-Luc as having been arrogant and self-assured, and stated that he himself had been convinced he would be acquitted due to his powerful political connections. That same victim, Tissia Huysman, in the same interview, noted, quote, "He was too arrogant, too full of himself. Those guys, they're not the type," and questioned why someone so defiant would suddenly choose to end it all. Also, unlike in other high-security prisons, while there were some cameras throughout the facility, the La Santé prison where Jean-Luc was held lacked video cameras in inmates' cells, which left prosecutors and the public with no footage to verify that he had actually done what they said he did. French authorities immediately declared Jean-Luc's death a self-deletion within a few hours, based on a hasty autopsy and a lack of any visible signs of struggle. Critics, though, including former UK prosecutor Nazir Afzal, tweeted out, quote, "No cameras, no witnesses, ruled immediately. I'm no conspiracy theorist, but this stinks." Interestingly, even Ghislaine Maxwell's own brother Ian raised some concern here, telling media outlets at the time, quote, "Another death by in a high-security prison. My reaction is one of total shock and bewilderment." end quote. And he even said that the family now feared for Ghislaine's safety, implying broader threats to those within Epstein's universe. Dutch model Valerie van der Waal, another accuser of Jean-Luc's, told NOS, a foreign news agency, in February of 2022, "It feels like justice is being blocked again. He knew too much." Obviously, the timing of Jean-Luc's death right before his trial, where he was obviously going to most likely expose some things about the Epstein operation and potentially throw out some powerful names. I mean, Jean-Luc knew the inner workings of the Epstein thing. Like, he was there with Epstein, he was supplying the victims, he was an integral part of at least some of these operations, so he knew a lot. And it's very convenient that before he could really tell people what he knew, he's gone forever. But we have to move on. So far we've got the death of Epstein himself, the death of Jean-Luc, but then there's death number 3, Virginia Giuffre, the survivor. Virginia Giuffre's existence was a harrowing odyssey from innocence shattered to fierce reckoning. Born Virginia Roberts in 1983 in Sacramento, Virginia's childhood was unraveled by parental divorce and at age 7 by a family friend, which landed her in foster care by 13, where she battled bulimia and at age 14, Virginia began living on the streets and eventually became the victim of another named Ron Eppinger in Miami, Florida. Virginia lived with Ron for about 6 months, but eventually he too was caught, arrested, charged. We're going to talk about Ron in a little bit, but just know that she was his victim and then she was able to break free. As she was already in Florida though, Virginia then decided to find a new place to work, this time choosing to be a spa attendant at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort, where at the time Virginia's father worked as a maintenance manager. It was here, while working at Mar-a-Lago, that Virginia was approached by none other than Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner in crime, who spotted her from a distance and lured her into a sort of mentorship that morphed into a full-on role in Epstein's child harem. From 2000 to 2002, Virginia was by Epstein to a number of high-profile individuals, and she was by a number of recognizable people. She also saw a lot of things that she shouldn't have seen and became privy to the inner workings of Epstein's disturbing operation. And that's because for a while, Virginia too was working not only for Epstein, but she was also working with Epstein and Maxwell, recruiting other girls into the ring. And that's all before obviously she got out of it herself. Now, Virginia later on ended up becoming one of the most prominent voices against Epstein years later, and her allegations were some of the first that really caught the attention of the media and helped break the Epstein story worldwide. Virginia would eventually try to make a life of her own, away from the predators that haunted her adolescence, and eventually gave birth to 3 children. Later on, she moved out of America to Perth, Australia, and there she helped to found an organization called Victims Refuse Silence, an organization dedicated to helping survivors escape their and also dedicated to sharing the stories of survivors. Virginia's advocacy rebirthed her and turned her into a fiery phoenix, born from the ashes of and radicalized into an angel of vengeance and justice. But life was never really easy for Virginia after escaping Maxwell and Epstein. Her personal battles included reported PTSD-fueled nightmares, a 2019 separation from her husband after she discovered infidelity, and relentless media hounding that turned her Palm Beach beauty into a tabloid spectacle. However, through all of this turmoil and trouble, Virginia continued to speak out against Epstein and Maxwell and continued to speak up for survivors across the world. Her life was a testament to survival's scars. And it should be noted, in 2021, she actually sued Prince Andrew for $12 million. I just talked about this in a recent episode. They eventually settled out of court. I don't know why an innocent person would settle with someone out of court for a massive amount of money. That to me just screams incredibly guilty. Like, if you're not guilty, why not just fight it? That's a whole nother tangent though. But in the last few years, Virginia finally seemed to be winning a little bit. Virginia also became close friends with other Epstein victims like Sarah Ransom and forged a practical sisterhood of the scarred. Eventually, Virginia began acting as an ambassador for awareness, but the weight of those years of silence broke her internally, and she suffered hospitalizations for breakdowns in 2015 and 2020, underscoring the toll of reliving horrors and depositions. Now, we could do a whole episode on Virginia and her allegations. There are so many, with so many names, so many deeply disturbing things that she claimed she saw, things that she claimed happened to her, involving everyone from Bill Clinton to Bill Gates, Alan Dershowitz, lots of individuals Virginia named and talked about. But we need to save that for another episode, because eventually, just this year, something would happen to Virginia. In the months leading up to her death, Virginia Giuffre faced escalating personal turmoil amid her continued advocacy against Epstein's network. On January 9th of this year, during a family trip to Western Australia to celebrate her daughter's 15th birthday, Virginia was allegedly beaten severely by her estranged husband of 22 years, Robert Giuffre, after she refused his advances for. The assault left Virginia with a cracked sternum, a perforated eye, extensive facial bruising and cuts, and required hospitalization at Royal Perth Hospital, where she texted her mother, quote, "Mommy, please call me when you are awake. Rob did it again. I'm in the hospital, and I need your voice to help me calm down," end quote. Virginia reported the incident to the police that day, but no charges were ever filed against her husband, Robert, who swiftly countersued with a family violence restraining order, claiming that Virginia had assaulted him and was mentally unstable. In February 2025, Robert filed for primary custody of their 3 children, aged 19, 16, and 15, prohibiting Virginia from contacting the kids until June, a restriction she was accused of breaching on February 2nd by sending him a text message. Virginia's diary entries from this time period revealed Robert's growing jealousy over her fame from exposing Epstein and Prince Andrew, accusing him daily of infidelity, controlling behavior, and also accusing him of gambling away millions from her settlements with Maxwell, the Epstein estate, Prince Andrew, and JP Morgan Chase. You see, before all this, in 2024, over a year ago, the couple had already separated, but they remained legally married, and Virginia was living on her farm in Near Gabby, and Robert was living in the couple's family home in Ocean Reef, about 30 miles away from each other. On March 24th, 2025, Virginia was allegedly involved in a car accident when her vehicle was struck by a school bus traveling over 49 miles per hour, causing severe damage to her car that her brother, Sky Roberts, later inspected and verified for himself. Now, interestingly, I think it's the school bus driver, it was somebody involved in the crash. They claimed initially that the damage done to Virginia's vehicle was only minor, essentially like a dent and a scrape, but after checking out the status of the car for himself, Sky Roberts, Virginia's brother, publicly disputed this claim and stated that the damage was much more intense than anyone had initially reported. Weird. Why is there that discrepancy? That's just the first red flag and a little bit of weirdness that starts really coming in here. Then, a few days later, Virginia posted on Instagram on March 30th about being hospitalized and near death with kidney failure, which her family interpreted as a desperate plea for help to reach her isolated children. Though the exact cause of this kidney failure, whether complications from the beating, the car crash, or both, remained and still remains unclear. In early April of 2025, Virginia publicly addressed the domestic violence in a statement saying, "I was able to fight back against Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, who me, but I was unable to escape the domestic violence in my marriage until recently. After my husband's latest physical assault, I can no longer stay silent." On April 1st, she emailed her publisher about finalizing her memoir, Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving and fighting for justice despite her deteriorating health. Her journal had captured profound despair over her separation from her children, as she wrote to them in the journal, "Every day that I don't see your faces has a little less light. The world is dimmer without you in it," underscoring how her advocacy clashed with her own battles at home. As her sister-in-law Amanda Roberts noted, she, quote, "had become a spokesperson against, but she wasn't able to do that battle and the one at home at the same time," end quote. However, on April 25th, 2005, Virginia Giuffre was found dead when her brother Sky Roberts discovered her unresponsive at her farm in Near Gabby, Western Australia, where she had lived for several years after relocating from the United States. Her brother, Sky, who had been checking in on Virginia amidst her recent health struggles, immediately attempted to resuscitate her using CPR before emergency medical services arrived, but unfortunately, Virginia was pronounced dead at the scene. Australian authorities and her family quickly ruled the death a self-deletion with no foul play suspected, though specific details, like the method of Virginia's death, were never publicly disclosed by officials. Virginia, aged 41, had been living in isolation on the rural property, separated from her kids due to that ongoing custody restriction imposed in February, which her family described as exacerbating her emotional pain. Following the discovery, her body was released to Robert Giuffre, her husband, who organized a small private cremation ceremony shortly afterwards, to which her siblings and extended family were not invited, further straining relations. The family issued a public statement that evening via email confirming the self-deletion and honoring her as a fierce warrior against while emphasizing her lifelong fight for justice despite the personal toll it took on her. Her longtime representative and lawyer, Sigrid McCauley, addressed the news somberly, noting Virginia's recent completion of her memoir just a few weeks prior, which is now actually going to be released on October 21st of this year as a testament to her voice. However, the rapid confirmation of Virginia's death of having been a self-deletion by authorities without an autopsy summary or formal investigation left immediate gaps in transparency as her family continued to grieve privately. You see, several suspicious elements swirl around the death of Virginia Giuffre, which have fueled public skepticism due to her pivotal role in the Epstein scandal. For example, her father, Sky Roberts, not her brother. Sky Roberts is her brother, and there's also a Sky Roberts who is her father. Her father publicly disputed the official ruling in public interviews, insisting inconsistencies in the timeline and circumstances pointed to possible foul play. Online discussions have speculated that Virginia may have been killed to keep her quiet about her knowledge of Epstein's elite network, or have even theorized that she may have been placed in witness protection with a faked death, drawing direct parallels to the death of Epstein himself. And now, this is spooky. A chilling tweet from 2019 also resurfaced after Virginia's death, in which she wrote, quote, "I am making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form I have made this known to my therapist and GP. If something happens to me, in the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted." End quote. So when you have someone saying that, and then you have this happening, a little bit weird. The March 24th car accident also raised red flags, with Virginia's brother, Sky Roberts, noting the vehicle's extensive damage contradicted the bus driver's claim of a minor collision, which suggests possible staging or a targeted hit, a targeted attempt on Virginia's life potentially. Critics questioned why authorities withheld details on Virginia's self-deletion method, her autopsy findings, and her toxicology report, which, in the eyes of many, mirrored some of the lapses in the official narratives or transparency seen in both Epstein's and John Luke's cases. Virginia's lawyer, Sigrid McCauley, addressed the rampant speculation in an interview in May of this year and urged folks to focus on Virginia's legacy rather than unproven theories, yet she admitted the pain of her client's fears of being silenced had been real. Despite official closures, these elements, combined with her status as the third known Epstein victim to die by self-deletion or have made people obviously distrust the official narrative here. I mean, lots of survivors have said, "I am afraid of being silenced." Virginia said she would never do this. All of a sudden, all this stuff happens. I remember when this was happening, and it was really, really bizarre seeing the sequence of events play out in real time. And you have to remember here too. So we've had a pretty eventful year with Epstein, obviously. So you got Trump coming into office. Obviously, there's tons of Epstein talk. Pam Bondi's saying, "Oh, we're gonna release the files. I've got them on my desk."
Shout out Galactic. He says, "What was it? A 3L Atlas set. Let's lighten the mood in here and worship our new alien overlord." Let me look it up.
And there's all this
Maybe
and this, and they invite those smarmy influencers out to the White House or wherever the hell they were with those stupid ass binders that say whatever, the Epstein Files Volume 1, which is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry to be vulgar, but it's so stupid because those documents, most of them were already out there publicly, except when they were given to these influencers by Pam Bondi, they had been redacted. But the unredacted versions of these documents were already widely available to anybody who wanted to access them online. So she was giving them less information than you could find online. That's a whole nother tangent. But you have to think about it. All of a sudden, Virginia Giuffre, the main Epstein accuser, ties to Trump at Mar-a-Lago. She's the one that's been leading the charge against Epstein. She suddenly, out of the blue, dies. She's gone. And then about 2 months later, 2.5 months later, that's when the Department of Justice and FBI released that joint memo saying Epstein never anyone.
Oh, no, I know you're talking about the comment, but I'm trying to see if there is anything extensive on it.
He only victimized these young girls. himself. There was no network. They waited until Virginia was dead, the main voice of the victims, to drop that knowledge and to drop that memo, which thus kicked off a massive wave of Epstein disclosures and discussion. And just imagine if Virginia would have been alive right now, everybody would have been interviewing her. Everybody would have wanted to speak with her. She probably would have disclosed stuff that we still don't even know. She would have definitely been in the news cycle all the time on Capitol Hill protesting, leading the charge, but she's gone. That's one thing that you have to consider with all these deaths. It's not only how these people died and all of that sort of a thing, but it's also the convenient timing of the deaths of so many of these people right before they're set to go to trial, or right before this big thing happened, or right after they said this. It's like we don't even understand exactly the tools and weapons that not only the US government as a whole has in their possession, but also like members of intelligence communities and services, what they have, which is truly frightening. But yeah, RIP to Virginia. That was a terribly tragic ending to her story, but still, it's really only the beginning. Death number 4, Carolyn Andriano, the teen recruit whose silence became eternal. Carolyn Andriano was born in 1987 in Florida and grew up in a financially strained household marked by instability and early trauma that would profoundly shape her life. At the age of 4, she endured by a relative, an experience that left her deeply scarred. Her mother, Dorothy Gronert, worked multiple jobs to support the family without government assistance, though she faced her own legal troubles, including charges for possession in 2002 and narcotic paraphernalia in 2004, both of which were not fully pursued by the law. Carolyn described having a close bond with her mother throughout her life, calling the two of them partners in crime who attended concerts and shared activities together. Carolyn dropped out of school in the 7th grade and never returned, entering a chaotic adolescence influenced by her family's circumstances and her own unresolved pain. By her early teens, she was already entangled in a world of hardship, confiding in others about her history of and familial addiction issues, which her exploiters and would later use and weaponize against her. Carolyn's association with Jeffrey Epstein began in 2001 when she was just 14 years old, and she was introduced to Epstein through Virginia Giuffre, who then at the time was dating a convicted with ties to Epstein. Virginia, approximately 17 at the time, recruited Carolyn under the pretense of giving massages for money, leading her to visit Epstein's opulent mansion about 100 times over 4 years, often 3 or 4 times a week. Each visit netted Carolyn $300 to $400 in cash, which she shared with Giuffre, but the massages quickly escalated into by Epstein, who her up to 3 times per session until she aged out at 18 and was deemed too old for his preferences. Ghislaine Maxwell herself played a central role in the grooming process as well, routinely scheduling these encounters, Carolyn during visits, and exploiting the teen's confessions about her childhood and her mother's addictions to build trust and dependency. Epstein and Maxwell attempted to lure Carolyn to Epstein's island multiple times, but Carolyn resisted, reminding Epstein she was only 15 and unable to leave the state without permission. The fueled Carolyn's descent into, as she later testified, she turned to alcohol to block out the trauma of the massage appointments, marking the beginning of a lifelong struggle with substance abuse that would eventually take an alleged tragic turn. In 2009, Carolyn filed a lawsuit against Epstein and his assistant, Sarah Kellen, resulting in a confidential settlement that later deducted $446,000 from her $3.25 million award from the Epstein Victim Compensation Fund. Her pivotal testimony came during Ghislaine Maxwell's 2021 federal trial in Manhattan, where she was one of only 4 victims to take the stand. Initially,
all right, now shout out to my man Galactic. Let's go ahead and take this in the direction you were asking about. Let's see what we got to say.
I am not comfortable with this Comet Atlas.
I know.
And I, like, you know,
we've got Avi Loeb coming on to talk about it.
He's amazing. I had him on my podcast a long time ago. He put up with my ass.
A lot of people in the beginning were saying that it's bullshit. It's a comet. Why is he saying this? He's risking his reputation. But then as time's going on, they're going, well, this is weird. This thing's really weird.
Well, it's the okay. First of all, it's important to note that one thing that titillates my dumb ass is it just so happens the government shutdown coincides with when we could use the satellites on Mars to get pictures of that fucking thing. So we're not getting pictures. They did release a picture of it yesterday.
Wait a minute. The government shutdown is stopping us from getting pictures of this thing?
Yes. Yes.
That's insane.
That's insane. Now
that's so insane. They should open that up.
I mean, it seems like that's really weird. Did you see the images that just came in though? The Europeans got an image of it.
It's weird looking.
It's weird looking, but I don't know what a comet looks like. So
I don't know what a comet looks like, and I don't know why it's weirder than other comets.
But it does seem like it's going loop, loop. It's like rolling in a weird way, but it's the gas, right? It's like it's what it's releasing is the weird part.
Well, the weird part is coming from the same part of the universe where the WOW signal came from.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's weird.
That's fucking weird.
That's weird. Because that WOW signal, what was it, like 70 seconds long? Some very strange coded signal that was 70 seconds long.
You know what else is weird is Jeremy Corbell said a bunch of people are going to start saying there's a mothership coming to Earth and don't believe him. Remember he was saying that?
Yeah, what's that all about? I
remember that.
Why did he know that?
I don't know.
You got to tell people why you know something like that. You can't just say that.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, how do you know? There's this guy, Avi Loeb, who's a professor out of Harvard, who is saying that some of these objects that we're seeing in space, they're moving in very bizarre ways. They're enormous. They have much more mass and much more speed. They're interstellar objects, and he's speculating whether or not they're alien.
We got one passing by pretty soon, right? I've been following that one a little bit.
Yeah, this is one of the ones he's talking about.
They think it's a spaceship.
They think it's something. You know, whatever it is.
For it to come outside of our solar system on this path is just very bizarre.
Very bizarre, but other astronomers say, yeah, but it just might be unique. Like there's a lot of stuff in space they're finding through the James Webb telescope that they didn't understand. So they had this idea of the universe being 13.7 or whatever it is billion years old. But now they're finding these galaxies that were formed far too quickly, like after the Big Bang. And so now they're starting to say, well, this might be an indication that it's quite a bit older and that maybe it's not maybe the Big Bang is not 13.7 billion years, but that's just as far back as we can look. And as they get better and better equipment and better ways of looking, they'll be able to find more evidence and more information that gives them more questions and less answers. It's really weird. It's like, there's a quote by Dennis McKenna, and he said that once the bonfire of knowledge expands, the surface layer of ignorance is exposed. More of a surface layer of ignorance. So the more you see and the more you learn, the more you realize, oh, I don't know shit. And that's what they're kind of finding out about space. It's like they know a lot, but they don't know a lot in comparison to what's out there.
More questions pop up than answers.
Yeah, I mean, it might be.
It's just wild too how much of that we were taught in school is like fact, and then you grow up and like, wait a minute, we don't really know what's going on.
I didn't even know there was dwarf planets in our solar system.
Yeah.
There's planets that aren't like regular planets, but I didn't learn about those.
I might have learned that 3 years ago.
It's pretty wild to think that they're.
I'm 32.
That they're there and we never learned about them.
Yeah.
Well, there's also speculation there's something big that's outside of the Kuiper Belt. There's like some other planet that it might even be a dwarf star, or what is it called? I forget what they're called, a brown dwarf. But that we might have a binary star system, and that the star might have died off, and it's like in a far outside of our own sun, outside of that orbit.
Wow.
So there's this thing called the Kuiper Belt that's outside of Pluto, and it's a belt of objects, and that's one of the reasons why Pluto got declassified as a planet, because it is a little too small to be a planet, and it seems like there's a lot of these objects out there. And then they found a couple more, and they're saying, okay, it's not a planet, but there seems to be a drop-off after that, which indicates something that is of a large mass exists.
Interesting.
But it's a little too far for us to be able to look at right now. So it's a lot of just speculation. Do you hear about that fucking object that's hurtling towards Earth at like 130,000 miles an hour?
No, that might solve.
I mean, shoot, that's all I can find on there about Atlas. Is an interesting conversation by Joe Rogan. Now, let's see here if I can
name for anonymity before publicly revealing her identity post-conviction to inspire other survivors to come forward. During cross-examination, when asked if money could fix her pain, she firmly replied, "Yes, but no money will ever fix what's happened to me," underscoring the irreversible damage done by Epstein. A juror later described her account as the most gripping and her life story as one of the hardest, evoking the deepest compassion amongst the panel. Carolyn also implicated Virginia Giuffre in her testimony, accusing her of her into Epstein's world, and she also credited her husband, John, with spending 12 years helping her regain self-love. Carolyn, as she grew older, had 2 children in a previous relationship before meeting her husband, John Pitts Jr., with whom she would have 3 more children, forming a blended family of 5 that she fiercely protected. In adulthood, Carolyn worked to rebuild her life, purchasing a $570,000 home in Wellington, Florida in the spring before Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, only to sell it in April 2023 and buy a $265,000 property in North Carolina in May, signaling a hope for a fresh start. Throughout her later years, she managed multiple medications, including for addiction recovery, an antidepressant, Xanax for anxiety, and a prescription for schizophrenia, while also expressing fears that her children could be kidnapped due to her Epstein connections. But unfortunately, Carolyn's life would eventually come to a sudden and tragic end. Carolyn Andriano's death unfolded on May 23, 2023, when her husband, John, discovered her unresponsive and naked in their bed at the DoubleTree by Hilton Hotel in West Palm Beach, Florida, at around 7:45 a.m. On that day, John reported that Carolyn had been vomiting the previous night and appeared ill upon waking, which had prompted him to perform CPR until paramedics arrived, but unfortunately, she was pronounced dead at the scene. The couple had been temporarily residing in the hotel after selling their Wellington, Florida home and had recently returned from North Carolina, where they purchased that $265,000 property. Police investigators in the hotel room found a baggie containing white residue, and a hypodermic needle in Carolyn's purse, alongside several vodka bottles in the room, though a toxicology report, curiously, later confirmed that she had no alcohol in her system at her time of death. The Palm Beach County Medical Examiner's Office conducted an autopsy and toxicology analysis, revealing lethal levels of in her bloodstream, and ruled Carolyn's death an accidental on the spot. West Palm Beach Police spokesperson Mike Jackals announced that the investigation was closed shortly afterwards, with no signs of foul play detected. At the time of her passing, Carolyn was 36 years old and left behind her 5 children, her husband, her mother, and approximately $183,000 in a savings account, with pending settlement payments coming in from JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank. Now, medical toxicology expert Lewis Nelson, reviewing the final report, noted that the appeared to be a recent addition to her usual regimen, which created a deadly respiratory depressing combination with the alprazolam that likely caused her rapid death. Pitts' sister, Serena Pitts, later emphasized the family's grief and tried to focus on the children's care, requesting privacy from the public amongst the tragedy. However, several suspicious elements have cast a shadow over the official ruling of Carolyn's death, prompting her family to demand further scrutiny and fueling online speculation. For example, her mother, Dorothy Gronert, vehemently contested the accidental determination, insisting that Carolyn was ecstatic about her life and had texted her recently about having been sober for months. In fact, Carolyn's mother said before her death, Carolyn had been talking to her about she and her husband John's plan to have a fresh start in North Carolina with the kids. Carolyn's mother also highlighted some strange anomalies found at her death scene, like the empty vodka bottles that were found in the room, despite zero alcohol being found in Carolyn's body, questioning why such evidence was present if she hadn't recently been drinking. Carolyn's mother bombarded local authorities with pleas for meetings and updates, declaring, "Nobody's giving me any answers, and you know what? I'm over it. This is my daughter and she deserves justice," and begged that the case not be prematurely closed. Carolyn's brother, Joey, also later stated that he had grown alarmed in the days prior to her death, noting that his sister had taken on an unusually groggy demeanor during phone calls, during which her husband had dominated the conversations. He also questioned why her husband didn't call an ambulance.
And shout out Tove, Casper Sites has a few great videos on the 3i. I thought it was 3L, but 3i Atlas. Huh. All right, I'm gonna have to look that one up. I'm gonna have to save that one for tomorrow, guys, because I actually gotta head out. Gotta catch this doctor's appointment. Man, if I don't catch it this week, I'm gonna have to wait for 2 weeks later. I'm gonna have to wait 2 weeks down the line. I cannot do so. But all right, guys, enough personal information. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and head out on this one, guys. Y'all make sure y'all enjoy y'all morning and y'all Friday. This is Set with Set Media, and don't worry, guys, I'll be back later on today. So I'm gonna see if I can get a show on by 11 p.m. You know, a good time, reasonable time. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get the jazz on. Make sure you guys double tap that screen and subscribe to the channel. This is Set with Set Media, and I will catch you guys later on today. Peace.